What is up, Nintendo Land? Welcome to Nintendo Open Air Podcast. Pocket Camp and New Leaf. That's probably not a crossover you were expecting to happen. However, it does indeed seem that was Nintendo's intention. Information from a Pocket Camp data mine has recently come to light, revealing some interesting connections. We'll be breaking that down for you a little later tonight. But before we get there, let me introduce our panel for this evening. We've got all the not all the regulars, but we've got Mo with us tonight and Z. And we've got a returning special guest with us tonight. Barry is joining us again. So welcome back to the show.
Oh my goodness. Thanks. Good to be here.
And of course, if you don't know by now, I'm Jason, your host. So we're going to start tonight with a bit of an update from something we talked about last week, and that is Linux on Switch. So there's a group called Fail Overflow, which has apparently got more than just what they had before running on Switch. Is a full fat Linux PC up and running. So,
tablet.
Yeah, basically a tablet. Yep. So they're exploiting a flaw in NVIDIA's Tegra X1 chip. So basically, any hope of fixing this would obviously be a recall and replacing the chip, which is not going to happen most likely. So exciting news.
Not till Switch 2.
Not till Switch 2.
Here's one thing I haven't heard about this. Is this something that this is a flaw that was known before Nintendo used this chip or not? Because if it was, and Nintendo said, screw it, that's an interesting, lack of paranoia on their part, right? Historically, they would never accept something like that.
Right.
But if they were well aware of this flaw, because that chip had been around a while, if they were aware of this flaw and we're like, well, it's the cheaper chip, then that means it's a mindset change at least.
Tegra's designed to run computer stuff.
Yeah, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, you would think that it would have been brought to light a long time, on both ends, that they would have known before they ever started producing the Switch, and that someone would have figured this out before almost a year in. So.
Well, I guess they had to know by going with more off-the-shelf hardware. Although they swear, right, that it's a custom Tegra X1 chip in the Switch, supposedly. But every teardown I've ever seen says it doesn't look like it's custom to them. So who knows? It sounds like... or it just has its own model number and production run or whatever. Yeah, who knows? So I think Nintendo also, here's the other thing, is it does still sound like, yes, it can be done for the hardcore hobbyist who really wants to get it done, maybe, but it's still not an avenue for the average person to pirate stuff. So I don't think they're too worried about it, probably. But it is interesting that somebody's now been able to pull off a complete, hardware or software clear out effectively and run a completely new OS on it of any kind.
You could play Netflix on your Switch. Or view the web.
Yeah.
And from a game standpoint, this does basically mean you should be able to run Steam and PC-based games.
And emulators.
Yeah, and emulators and ROMs on your...
I know, it could be a Steam box. Would that Steam ever really was able to pull off the Linux support they wanted, right? Because the Steam, they were trying to make their own boxes that were Linux boxes that were going to be like a home console.
Mm-hmm.
They put out their spec, and a few companies like Alienware and whatever made effectively a console that was PC guts, but it was specifically to the Steam spec, but it ran Linux. And A, those Steam boxes never took off, but B, part of the reason was that they just had, there's just so much stuff on Windows and a small fraction of it on Linux. It'd be kind of like, I'm sorry, Jason, it'd be kind of like if those Steam boxes ran Mac. Nothing against Mac. It's just a much smaller percentage of the games. Kind of like how we were with Nintendo for a lot of years, right?
That's true.
We love Nintendo for what it's got, but what you give up is kind of that broad world of just everything that you get on PC or say on another console kind of thing. Which also kind of goes back to us complaining about the volume of stuff on Switch and the volume of junk on Switch. But that said, like when I go, even on my old, I don't have one of the new fancy consoles, but if you go on Steam or if I go on my PS3 shop or whatever, there is similarly just tons and tons. Just I don't even know where to begin kind of thing with the junk in there as well.
Yeah,
so
but tons of that's garbage too.
If you just look
That's
at the
what I mean,
giveaways, like if you just look at the giveaways or these bundles that they do on occasion, there's good games, but then there's a lot of games like, oh, okay,
here we'll give you 12 of these for $1.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. I mean I have 465 games on my Steam account just because of that.
And still very interesting, and we'll have to. They're not revealing yet exactly how they do it, so.
No, from what I understand, these guys never do reveal their hacks. They're more of just show-offy.
Right.
Do it to show that they can do it. Although,
yeah, proof of concept.
Just like with a magic trick, if you show it to enough people, eventually someone will be like, "Hey, I bet I know how they did that," or at least get people thinking. So, I'm sure they won't be the only ones.
Like Z was saying, if you have the know-how and the technical means to actually do this, you can probably figure it out on your own. If you really wanted to take the time, that can be done.
Yeah, I mean it's now it's technically doable, but obviously it took a year for it to be done, so it can't be easy. And whatever they did, Nintendo will do their best to throw up roadblocks too, even if they can't fully patch it out. So again, it's nothing. It's not like you can steal games with it. What you can do is you can theoretically load up an operating system that already has known emulators on it, right? So hey, you can get a virtual console on your Switch sooner than anybody else. But I mean, it's it is what it is. People have been homebrewing stuff on all their consoles forever, and they have to declare a white flag at least when it's something that's not like a pirate cart or whatever.
So if you did do this to your Switch and you were able to get it up and running, would you still be able to use the Switch normally, or is this gonna? It's just a workaround, right? It's not replacing.
That's an interesting question. I would bet you it involves. Yeah, I would bet it involves kernel hacking and stuff that would. Yeah, right. They probably had to wipe something to install the Linux and make it boot. So I would imagine
do it all on memory cards.
Yeah, well, no, not necessarily, because there's got to be core system firmware stuff that they had to update to get it to boot something other than what Nintendo wants it to boot. So I gotta imagine there's whatever they did is probably something that's potentially you could flash it all back to how it was, but not probably in a simple, pull the plug and you're back to normal kind of thing.
So that makes it much more of a parlor trick and less of a doable route or something. I mean, because you could just go get a cheap tablet and have the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Without hacking it, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'm sure there are plenty of cheap tablets that you can install Linux on just out of the box without much hassle.
So
I did notice, this isn't one in our topic list, but I did notice there was a barrage of various updates coming to Nintendo stuff. I just wonder if any of this is connected at all.
I don't know. Maybe maybe people are just finally refining stuff. But yeah, I noticed today there was an update to the pinball, Zen Pinball FX or whatever. I don't know what it did.
Can I complain about Zen Pinball real quick since you brought it up?
How dare you?
Go.
Okay, so right, I actually shelled out the $10 for the Universal Pictures license. So I guess I'd kind of forgotten about this because I think I'd noticed this on something before on a previous console or whatever when I'd bought a Zen. But back then it was only like $2. So they obviously paid like the least amount of money possible to be able to make a Back to the Future pinball table, or a Jaws, or an ET, all three. Like, you would think it would just be easier to just lift the original sound effects and audio from the movie. No, it's all poorly redone voice acting and fake music that sounds nothing like the original movie music. Like, the table's cool, it looks good, it's just better played with the sound off. It's just kind of weird. No likenesses of the main actors. It's just poorly. You know what I mean? It just feels half-assed. It feels like they would have had to pay more for those assets and decided not to, and because of that, you get a very, very cheap, chintzy feeling experience.
I read the blurb for what I'm assuming this update is for, and that's these Jurassic Park tables they're adding. And they specifically said in there that there was going to be voice clips or whatnot from the movies or sound clips of some sort.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. They're making a point of pointing that out. Okay, because I was about to say I'm totally done on buying any Zen tables, or at least any of those kind of themed Zen tables. But if the Jurassic Park ones actually they made a point and paid up for the licensing on all that, then okay, I might be down.
Is it Jurassic Park or Jurassic World?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think it's both. It's for the franchise.
It's yeah, they have an Aliens bundle and whatever.
All right.
That's interesting. Okay, I might plunk down $10 for Jurassic Park. Now they'll probably charge more because it's got voices.
That'd be $12.
$12 I'd do. 15 or more, no.
Yeah.
But sorry, yeah, maybe a lot of updates because it's just the big Christmas rush is over finally, and all the devs finally have had a chance to breathe and start looking at
their areas.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it's for the better. There's been some surprising ones this week, and we know there's more on the way.
Doom is so exciting. I can't wait. I'm not going to pay $60 because I already bought it on Steam, but I will definitely, when it drops down cheap enough, I will definitely nab it because I want to try it out on the Switch. I can't wait with motion controls. That's what I was waiting for, man. No, I'm not the only one.
No, Reddit agrees with you.
Yeah.
I mean, if we've gone ahead and brought it up, let's go ahead and roll into it. We were going to talk about it later, but I think most of the only one has played the actual Doom update, right?
Yeah, I've played it before and after. It's all right. So they added motion control. They've kind of updated the graphics a little bit, so it runs a little bit smoother. It's not as choppy. It doesn't seem like to me frame rate wise. Although it still is pretty good. I still never really noticed a ton of frame drops. It seems like it's hard because I played the whole game almost in on a 1 or 2 day thing. So it's hard to tell how much of my memory is accurate at this point since that was months ago.
Right.
But it's it seems to me like there's some atmospheric effects that weren't there before, like steam vents, like from the ceiling or from the floor, like shooting steam up that you walk through. I mean, it seems like some of that stuff might have either been added or just enhanced. But the big deal is that they did motion control, which I think is really awesome and sets a great precedent that that's something fans have been asking for. It also would look really nice if they put that on the box now. They could. That's a feature with motion control.
No, but to enough people, that's like a turnoff that I think they probably don't necessarily want.
I don't know. Not necessarily for Nintendo people though, especially with Splatoon now is something that more people have played and can probably see the benefit of it. But it has an option to change the sensitivity of the motion control. And on Splatoon, I always play with the motion control turned all the way up, the sensitivity all the way up. And with this all the way up, it's still not as sensitive as Splatoon. It might be like half as sensitive as Splatoon. So
that's going to take a little getting used to.
Yeah, but it's really almost more of the way I've used it, I've just played a couple of the levels through. I kind of started a new file and just played through the first like 3 missions or whatever. And I kind of use it almost more like a Breath of the Wild, where I'm still using the twin sticks for most everything and just kind of doing refined aiming with the motion.
Well, and like Splatoon, we kind of use them in tandem, right?
Right.
Yeah,
kind of in the opposite end, I think.
Yeah.
True.
This one's, but I think it's cool that they did it. Obviously, it's been all over Twitter. It's on Reddit. It's on all the news sites that it happened. So hopefully, some other developers jump on board with this, like we've been talking about forever, and start adding motion control to some first-person shooter games. Because, like I said, it really replaces or helps compete with the whole mouse and keyboard to have motion control.
You think that Wolfenstein will get it out of the box?
I wonder.
Yeah,
I
I think so. I would think so. It's the same.
Panic Button's the same people doing it. Yeah. They also did Rocket League, so I think they're probably becoming the premier port people for Nintendo Switch. Yeah, just because they've had so much experience porting everything over. I also think it's funny that like people were asking, like weeks ago, they asked Panic Button, like, hey, are you guys ever going to fix these audio glitches in Doom? And they were like, well, we've not been asked by Bethesda to fix the glitches, so we're not going to fix them. And then all of a sudden, like a couple weeks later, it's like, oh, by the way, yep, well, they were making a patch, and now the patch is out. Which, by the way, the big thing is that, yeah, it apparently did address the audio glitches that they were having, which was a major problem because it was awful and did detract from the game. It was just basically something where you had to, if the audio glitched, it would like stick in a really loud noise, and you'd have to reload your save file from the last checkpoint. I still only had that maybe happen 5 times in my whole playthrough, but it definitely takes you out of it. So, yeah, so that's apparently fixed. It seems to me like the blood is a little less splashier. It's got these like little glory kills, which are like melee kills, and it seems like they used to really splatter around a bit, and now it doesn't seem like as much. But maybe that's just something they did in the graphics to
make it a little smoother,
help it run smoother. Yeah. So, but I mean, it's still a great game. It's still tons of fun, and I'm glad they did it.
And I'm glad it's still one of those that really everyone says is faithful enough to the real thing to be a legitimate port. Whereas we were talking about earlier, that Monster Energy motocross, which apparently is just sounds like a real lazy, crappy port. It's missing a bunch of features, most notably multiplayer.
But Doom is missing some features as well.
The map
there's like a
mainly,
map editor, yeah.
Which that's something that,
and the 60 frames per second.
I haven't played with a map editor in a game since
Excitebike.
Definitely Excitebike. Oh hell yeah, Excitebike. I had a lot of fun with that map editor. And a few other games
use that feature
over the years. Yeah, like StarCraft 2 or original StarCraft, I used the map editor. It's really literally 3 or 4 games in my life of a lot of games that I've used the map editor at all. And I'm including Super Mario Maker in that. I don't care. That's an omission that's completely to me. I couldn't care less.
Map editor is more like an extra feature, whereas multiplayer is
a core.
Day and age should be a
requirement.
Requirement.
So. Absolutely.
But never mind any of that, because the real thing this update did was it changed the icon.
That's all.
Why has that become? Why has that become?
I know.
I don't
Because
understand.
people give it attention. It's funny. They even put that like in their little patch notes. Like, we know that icons are very important to Switch users, so they've updated the icon so that it matches the box art now. Which the old one was fine. The new one's fine. I don't have a preference. It's fine.
If you've had the icon on your Switch for a while too, that's going to draw attention to it when you do the update. It's like, oh yeah, I should be playing that.
Yeah. What's this game? Ooh, yeah. No, it's
That
a
is-
ton of fun. I would recommend everybody pick it up.
I didn't even think about that, Jason, but you're absolutely right. That is, I bet you that figures into their mindset as well. As if they update the icon, then all of a sudden more. I bet you $1 million statistically more people launch it if it's been updated,
Right.
just because that looks new. Even though
Yeah,
it's a game
they
that
already
I
got your money at that
want.
point, so I don't know if they care.
Yeah, but right,
Advertising.
play hours and playtime. Yeah, that's the thing. Play hours and playtime means something to devs. They want to be able to point for marketing stuff. Say, this is how many hours people put into this game. But also, if somebody thinks, they just want you thinking about Doom, because then you're a little more likely to buy Doom 2 when it comes out or whatever.
Or if you're posting screenshots to your social media, or if your friends get on and see you're playing it, it's like,
That's
hey,
true.
That's true. I didn't even think about that aspect too. Yeah, I think every company thinks of it that way now too, where if you're playing it, you're potentially streaming it or sharing pictures of it or something to other people.
Or at least your friends see you're playing it. So
yeah.
What a value! I gotta get that too. Yeah, it's
all a twisted web where we are all both customers and unwitting marketers.
Yeah, it's a vicious circle. Yeah. So anyway, so that's Doom.
So I guess since we're talking about this, there was another sort of update that since we're going through our updates here, and I know you've been having some issues with Rocket League and have been in contact with their support. Want to kind of run us through what's went down?
Yeah, so which I don't remember if I mentioned this last week or not. I think I might have, but they released a new crate loot box thing, and I think Barry had some issues just viewing the contents of the crate, where it basically causes the game to crash completely out, which causes you to have to reboot the whole game. So I noticed when I have these items equipped from the new Victory Crate that the game crashes really frequently. But even without them equipped now, it still crashes. It's less frequent. But I basically went back and forth for a week with Psionics support, and they were having me test all this stuff, try moving it from your memory card to your internal memory, try deleting it and reinstalling it, try creating a second account and playing the game on the second account and see if it happens. Basically just jumping through hoop after hoop, and eventually they just kind of threw up their hands and said, subscribe to our Twitter and we'll let you know when there's an update to fix this issue.
Yeah, you posted a screenshot of your email there, and it looks like the email you would have received day one from automated email almost.
Well, on the flip side, though, if they're telling you to subscribe to their Twitter for an update on this issue, that should mean they've got, you know what I mean? That means they've got a bunch of people with that issue.
They did say thank you and your fellow users for reporting this issue.
So it's a known bug, so it'll get patched. Yeah, it'll get fixed.
So it just, like I said,
you got to be their tester for it, their QA person.
And that you have to spend money to get the items in these crates, and then spending money on their game is what caused it to crash. So,
yeah, you'd think they want to fix that fast.
Yeah.
Is this the first time that any of us have had conversation with a third-party developer? I think the only talking to Nintendo.
I very rarely have to reach out to any kind of third-party developer. I don't know that I ever have really.
Yeah, Danny used to always, chat with people at the various conferences and whatever, but that's on marketing. That's when they're on marketing duty.
But Barry, didn't you say you just viewed the contents of the crate at one point and it crashed your game? I think. Oh. Anyway.
Did you ever call in support on Uno?
On what? Uno? No.
Yeah. That's one
No,
you should have called in on.
We gotta call France. I don't know how easy they are to get a hold of.
You're up weird. You're up weird ass enough hours, man.
It would be worth it to call them. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
Is dead in the water too because they've already announced the date. So.
If it makes you feel better, I also haven't launched Uno in probably 2 months, or at least a month. Yeah.
You're a sucker.
Are you still playing Monopoly?
I haven't. I've been all about that Rocket League still, and then I've whipped back into Doom. But no, it's mainly because I have to get up and change the cartridge. And then
I hate that. Can I say I hate that? I hate that.
Yeah.
I've had to do it recently. I got a.
You know.
I was gonna say.
Oh yeah, Dragon Quest.
Yeah, I've been playing Dragon Quest lately, and I had to do it when we played Splatfest, but I also got an update for Fire Emblem Warriors, and I've had it for a week or 2 weeks now, and I haven't opened it and played it at all because I don't want to switch.
Yeah, I saw you were in that the other night.
I played for like 5 minutes and then swapped it back.
At least, but you play handheld, so it's not as big of a deal. At least you got it right there. You just have to find the game.
Yeah,
you have to physically get up.
Oh yeah, if I had to physically get up, I would still not know what the new content was on.
Like I wouldn't have played the Splatfest. Oh.
No.
It's but yeah, I don't know, man. It's like I'm so lazy now that I almost wish that there was like a game changer where I could just you can market it, call it the game changer. That was a trendy phrase. Let's kickstart
Genius,
this
man.
thing.
Genius.
Where it's just like a thing where you plug in like up to 10 or 15 games and then you can plug them into your Switch. And
we'll kind of call it the Switcher, man.
Yeah.
The Switcher.
There you go.
Game Switcher. There we go.
But yeah, it's a pain.
I just really hope that there's, some kind of trade-in program. Like at one point, there was a good enough deal at GameStop. They had some kind of, I was able to combine discounts or something and effectively trade straight across. Like I was still able to get like whatever, like almost $20 for my cartridges, trading them in, and I was able to get the downloads for like $20. So I was, and I did that for Mario Kart and something else. Mario Kart and Ocarina of Time at GameStop. I traded them for the download versions and only had to pay a couple bucks each. I wish to God there was some sort of similar deal for Switch games come up down the line, but I'm sure there won't be.
With all the updates that happen nowadays, I don't know if these games will even be worth anything in the future.
No, I don't. It's not like a cartridge. A cartridge is chips and physical, like there's
self-contained.
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's also like a cartridge can't just be copied. Like, right at the end of the day, these game cards you can just copy the contents of. Same thing with 3DS. Same thing with the DS, right? The flash carts on the GBAs. You could just copy the whole game to the flash cart. I mean, it had to have some special stuff in it, but right at that point, whereas the original cartridges actually contain physical chips. Yeah, you can pull the ROM off, but you need the original hardware otherwise you have to use an emulator. And if you're one of those purists, it's not accurate.
Yeah.
So modern game cards, there's not even any of that. There's no emulation necessary. You could just copy the contents of what's on the game card directly into the internal memory of this thing, and it's the exact same thing. So ever really since discs for Nintendo. Right.
I just mean, in 25 years, somebody somehow has a Switch that's still working that they buy used, and they're like, oh, I want to play Doom.
Yeah,
or something like that. I don't know.
I would imagine
how much value it'll be without the online update stuff.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is I don't even know most of these bare cartridge if they would even work out of the box or at least very well.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild probably would be okay.
Yeah. Mario, maybe.
Mario, yeah.
Mario didn't have a day one patch. Nintendo's good about that with their big titles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would imagine most of these third parties will be, you're playing an inferior version of the game, but it is technically playable.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know.
We got off on a sidetrack.
Yeah, since we kind of leaned into this already, we've already mentioned Splatoon, which we never mentioned on this podcast. Never.
Almost
never. So we had a Splatfest recently last weekend. I'm happy to say that I think we were universally Team Love this time. We won.
Yeah.
We actually won one.
No, Barry was. Wait, Barry weren't you
was money? I think so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But
a little bit,
that,
not really, but because we've lost so many, it seems. It felt good to win.
I think it was fake. I think the stats are fake.
Yeah, I mentioned it while we were playing. We were doing a voice chat, and I mentioned it'll be a 49-51 split, and indeed it was.
I didn't realize that was really a thing. I guess I hadn't been paying close enough attention, but that does seem questionable.
Yeah, the Splatfests, a lot of times they're either 51-49 or real close. So I don't know, but then there was somebody did some mining of data somehow and found that the actual hard numbers that Nintendo doesn't publish, which I guess they did it somehow through the Nintendo app, and it seemed to match up. Yeah, so maybe, but yeah, it was love wins.
It would be so much cooler instead of since we have to sit through this newscast anyway with Pearl and Marina, that we get some, more numbers, like a gauge fills up and it has tells you how many people chose this and how many people chose that.
Yeah.
That'd be cool. So, but Nintendo doesn't.
But it could also be sad if there was only like 100 people.
That would be sad.
But yeah, I mean, I think from what I saw, it looks like the participation numbers in Japan outweigh the participation numbers in the United States, which we also get lumped in with Australia and New Zealand, apparently. So there's more people playing a Splatfest in Japan than in all of US. So
and Australia.
And New Zealand combined. Because there's probably 5 people playing in New Zealand.
Yeah, I mean, they don't even have electricity.
That's not true.
No.
Did we interrupt you, Barry? Were you going to say something?
I think he's
that's what Barry's saying.
I think
Barry's whistling.
There's a matching function in there that they try and keep the same skill level players fighting each other, so that probably helps keep it fairly close in percentages of wins and losses.
That's true. You did play Team Money this time, right?
No, this time I was on Team Love.
See?
It was Valentine's Day.
Oh, I'm mixing you up. It was Cooper who was chiming in on our call, not
That's
Barry.
right.
My bad.
Yep.
Sorry, Barry.
Yeah. It's all right, Team Love. Yeah, we
Team
pulled
Love
it out.
Yeah, I had some technical issues again. I had to hop devices here, so.
No worries, man.
Yeah.
So, another topic that kind of come up with us discussing this recent Splatoon news is the Marina and Pearl Amiibo. And this is something, I know we've brought this up before when it was announced, but what will it unlock is the kind of question that we settled on. And will it just be music like with Callie and Marie, or will there be something else?
I think it'll replace Marina and Pearl with Callie and Marie. Permanently. That's what I'm hoping for anyway.
I don't think so, because it's a Marina and Pearl Amiibo.
Yeah,
that'd be a real slap in the face if you scanned those just to remove them from the game. It would be awesome if
Amiibo in Splatoon 2 has changed quite a bit. Like it used to be, the other ones would unlock stages, and as well as that you could beat 2
beat their challenges to get the items. Now they just sort of give you the items and you can save, your outfits to them or take pictures. It's
Yeah.
complete different thing. I think there'll be some sort of time with the music, but again, the whole thing was you could see it would change the thing to Splatfest after Splatfests were over, so you could still see the nighttime environment, participate in the Miiverse posts, which again are gone. I don't know.
Yeah, they could do costume stuff. It'd be cool if they did Octoling hair.
Yeah, I like that theory.
I'm going to take that a
Or
little
maybe-
step further. One of my two theories is that it could unlock playable Octolings. We know it's been in the code
Maybe.
through Splatoon 1 and 2, but I guess it would be a little limited.
Would it be broken to have some piece of gear that you could change the skill on and pick what skill you were getting as your primary skill?
Probably not as long as
No.
they could, as long as it was limited to hats. Certain things like tenacity can only be on a hat.
Right.
Object shredder can only be on shoes, I think. So as long as they stuck to those rules, it probably wouldn't be a game breaker. It'd be the same as just picking them up on the app. Sometimes
or
they change the skills.
Well, or just picking up something else. It's just allowing you to it's effectively a cosmetic change, right? Because it would have the same stats as some other piece of equipment, just look like whatever piece you want it to be or whatever.
Yeah. The thing is with Amiibo, they can never make the stuff too cool because they don't want to upset the people who aren't buying it. So it's kind of a double-edged sword that they want to sell a ton. Although I guarantee you, these things are not going to be on the shelf long because they're probably making like 5 of them.
That's another thing we kind of talked about in our discussion is how few of the newer Amiibo we see, or how short a time we see them, and how few we actually see on the shelf.
Yeah. Nintendo needs to open up like an Amiibo online store where they just stock, their Amiibo and have, whatever, when it comes out new, it might be in the store, but otherwise go to their online Amiibo site or something, because they could really sell a lot more, I think, if they just had all of them available and ready to go and just did limited print runs or whatever.
I swear there's got to be some weird agreement they have with the brick and mortar stores in the US or something that they can't do their own online store. I don't get it.
They sell Amiibo on their online store occasionally. But they have the Samus ones.
That's true, but I didn't realize that that they had them on their online store. But it's random and it's not consistent.
Yeah, it's not consistent. Yeah.
Like if Nintendo just put everything up on their online store, we'd all buy stuff from their online store all the time. But nobody
didn't have to pay $20 shipping and handling.
Well, that too. But I mean, right? I just mean it wouldn't. I think we would check it a lot more often. Like we'd remember it exists. I don't. The Nintendo online store. Oh, there's stuff there. Like I have noticed that my 3DS battery is getting kind of crappy. I'm thinking of maybe ordering another Nintendo official one from their store, but I'll probably just get a cheap one off Amazon or something.
Yeah, I mean, every now and then they had when Samus Returns came out, they had like some cool T-shirts and stuff that were Samus on their web store that were like exclusive to their web store, but you wouldn't know because they don't promote it. Oh.
And I think that's much more popular in the UK. They had Splatoon shirts and things like that, which we never got.
Yeah, and I also think the population makes a difference too. That they're serving a much smaller group, which is why other places always get the cooler bonus special edition stuff too.
That's a good point.
And can I mention, I'm pretty sure the only way to get to the Nintendo online store is still by going through support. Is that the only way you guys know to get there?
Possibly, but I don't know. There must be some sort of web search you can do.
It's the same place that you order like old, replacement, chargers or whatever, like
a sensor bar for your Wii.
Yeah, exactly. I've ordered one of those. Yeah, so I don't know. It's like it's purposely buried on the site. They purposely don't have a direct link to it. It's like they don't really want people buying from here. Oh, new Super Mario Brothers Wii refurbished for $10.
Yeah, there's probably like 5 people that are actually working in that warehouse.
But to kind of hit on that point too that you were making earlier about brick and mortar stores, when you go to buy a game, it's like you can buy it digitally or buy it from one of our, retail partners, and it's not all of them. It's not all the places that sell them. I think Toys R Us may have been removed from that list, but it's like GameStop, Best Buy, Target, Walmart. It's got direct links, so maybe there is some kind of deal they have there. It's an interesting idea.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of advertising for those stores, but at the same time the stores are also advertising for them. So I don't know how that works.
But to reel this back into the Amiibo, my personal hope and what would utterly sell these is if you could scan one of them
and they get
give you
naked.
the option to skip the news.
Yeah, that would be.
I would just be happy if it would make them actually end the news when it's supposed to end, instead of that extra 2 seconds, like of them, like
awkwardly standing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like somebody pulled their battery out.
That's a good way to describe it. They just kind of go limp.
It's like the end of one of those animatronic shows where the lights go out, where they all just return to the original position.
Like the Showbiz Pizza, Chuck E. Cheese.
Yep. Showbiz Pizza. That's all I'm saying.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
So I don't know if this might be a bit of a spoiler or not, but I know I have the is it Callie? No, it's the Marie Amiibo. And I scanned that one, and it says, "Oh, this person is busy and they can't come." Wouldn't it be the same sort of deal that I have to do something to explain that away if that's the line they're taking with unique characters?
Hey, wait a minute, real quick. Does that go away, Jason? Since you cleared all the single player stuff, what does it do now? It just gives you gear.
Yeah, it gives you gear,
and that's it.
Yeah, and you can take pictures and that type of stuff. I think
with Callie.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. It's exclusive gear that you can only get with those Amiibo.
Yeah. Which requires 2 scans. I think it's required to be, I don't know if it's a day apart or so many hours apart or what, but
yeah. I wondered if it was level apart.
It might be level apart. All I know is I scanned it twice and it didn't give it to me.
Which would be really frustrating now.
Yeah.
Because I level up every month or 2.
Yeah. It's a long playtime between level ups.
But yeah, I mean,
all right.
Moving along.
Moving along before we get into depressed Splatoon land. I guess we'll go ahead and talk about this one other Splatoon topic, which is Amazon US has recently listed the Splatoon 2 Pro Controller as discontinued. I don't know, was it not promised in the beginning that all those would, like this and the Xenoblade, would be limited run or...
I don't know how they phrased it, but I mean, I personally never saw the Splatoon Pro Controller in the wild. So I kind of assumed that it was going to be gone. And sure enough, it is. I've never seen the Xenoblade one in the wild either. And you would figure those are such niche kind of items that if they made them in any decent quantity, they'd be all over the place.
I've seen them, but it's been a long time. I think I've seen them both maybe a couple times in a while.
Yeah, I never did. But I didn't really want it anyway, but it stinks for people who do want it. Did that come out at the same time as the game? Or did that come out when like the little the set came out with the game and the system and the green and pink? I can't remember when it launched, but
I think it did come out later. I think. I'm not positive on that.
But not when the set came out.
No.
I think it was just a little bit after.
I would have bought the Splatoon 2 bundle had it been available day one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, for people who end up wanting it, that's kind of sad. It can't have been that hard to just manufacture some extra skins and different colored handles, but such is the way of Nintendo. It's limited. If you want it, you better jump on it.
That's right. Exactly what Reggie tells us.
I'm trying to remember. Yeah. I think right, because the pink and green Joy-Cons, I nabbed before they came out. Yeah, before the bundle came out. So maybe they were either when the game came out or shortly after. I think it was just a couple weeks after.
No, you got the Joy-Cons from Japan.
Oh, I got them from Europe.
From Europe. But the first time that we got the Joy-Cons here in the States
was
North
recently.
America was the September bundle.
Yeah, but the Pro controller, well, I'm trying to remember when it actually hit shelves. I don't know. Never mind. It didn't hit shelves by the time I got the ones from Europe, though. I remember that because that was the only thing I could get, and I was pissed.
Yeah.
So
maybe someday they'll offer all these again.
I hope so.
Couldn't be that hard to just stock 100 of them or something. Yeah. See if there's any interest.
Yeah, it could be a very small batch and still be available, I think.
Yeah, well, it's like with the Super NES Minis. I keep seeing more and more stories of people finding those out in the wild on shelves. It's like they could just do kind of limited runs throughout the year of these things, and I'm sure they'd keep selling.
Just around holidays, even. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, talking about Switch accessories, there were a batch of accessories on sale. I believe this was all through Amazon. I'm not sure if it was in any other stores. So the dock came down to $59.99 per Pro controller. This is the plain black one was, I think, $49.99. And then the pink and green Joy-Con were down to $61.99. It's pretty big sales, and the only sales we've really seen that I can recall on the original.
I would think those docks got to be piling up because almost any store I go to that ever ordered those docks has at least a couple of them still on the shelf.
Yeah.
I'm sure those aren't a super hot seller.
I'm just staying quiet for this whole conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's.
Well, for those early adopters.
I know, and I knew when I paid $90 for it that well, I figured it'd be, there'd be the occasional deal for 80 or maybe even $75 by now, but 60 is kind of a big chunk off, especially alongside the controllers being, the Pro was 50.
Yeah, but
and the Joy-Cons
the dock
were
really
not much
worth?
more.
Is it even really worth 60? Like, if it was $60 all the time on the shelf, I still wouldn't consider picking it up.
If it were $60 all the time on the shelf, I would feel less guilty about my purchase. But for me, it just depends. For me, I have 2 TVs and a computer monitor that I'm going in between all the time. And so for me, having 3 docks was ideal. And the Nyko does the job, even though it's kind of crappy, but it was cheap. Yeah. But I mean, for me, it is worth it. And I do, you know what I mean? I use all 3 of them often enough. I'm either stuck in the baby's room or I'm, at my computer desk is my preferred place, or I'm downstairs, where the main TV is. So it's, I get value in it, but I'm still pissed I paid $90.
Yeah. Well, that's the way things go. But yeah, like I said, they're making a killing off of those docks. Like,
yeah,
they gotta cost like $5 to make.
If they were 40 and I needed an extra one, if I was playing in, tabletop, in dock mode all the time instead of handheld, I would definitely consider it. Something cheaper than the price of a game, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a good sale for Sorry, everybody who's listening now missed it.
Yeah, but I didn't really find out till it was at the
Yeah.
end of it, really. But
Yeah. But still, it'll happen again at some point.
yeah, definitely. So speaking of docks, so we've got another weird gadget. We like to cover these things. So CyberGadget has a dock extension adapter. That's its official name. It's basically a cable that attaches to the top of the Switch, and you can charge and play without putting the Switch into the dock. The cable is 60
Not even
centimeters.
basically. It is a cable.
It is a cable, right. It's a 60 centimeters, which is about 24 inches. And comes out in April, end of April.
So yeah, it plugs into your dock, and the other end plugs into your Switch, so you can charge and play on the TV without having to worry about your precious screen getting scratched. It's funny, like they also have those Nyko, I think, makes these dock bands, which are like rubber bands to go over your Switch, so when you dock it, it doesn't scratch it. It's like, it's pretty much an unfounded fear, I think, at this point. Or you could save yourself all kinds of money and just get a screen protector if you're that worried. But
or they make those little covers that you can put over it that still allows you to dock it.
Yeah, like I don't know who this is for. Like, but it looks even weird because it takes up just as much space, except for now you got to have a place to sit your Switch and the dock.
Yeah, it's going to take up more space.
But yeah, it's definitely a wacky accessory, which when I saw it, I was like, these are going to be all over the shelves.
Could you not, like, the front part of that dock is just hollow plastic, right? Couldn't you just stick a hacksaw to it if you're worried about it and cut it off?
Probably, but you'd have to have something to support the Switch so it didn't just tip out and fall over.
I'll leave the bottom, half inch or whatever, where there's no active screen.
Yeah, possibly. I think they will redesign at some point. I could see them doing a different design on the dock where it's maybe just slanted and open, possibly. But
I think about those 3DS docks that they had on Club Nintendo for a while, where you could just sit down in it. Something like
just
that.
Lay the screen down. Yeah, that'd be fine too. Any of those would work. Although that one you'd probably have to, because of the way this has the port, you'd probably actually have to push it down more to actually make like a click connection.
I wonder. So this would be kind of a little way that this would work. You could technically play it in handheld mode while it's being displayed on the TV. Not that you would want to, but I mean,
I don't think that would work, because when it senses that it's being docked, the screen shuts off.
Right, but you could hold it in your hand and essentially use the whole Switch as a controller.
You could, yeah, probably.
It won't let you. I've tried that with the Nyko dock. You can't hit the button. The buttons don't work when it's like in dock mode.
Oh.
Yeah, when it's attached and it's in docked mode, it doesn't respond.
Dang.
Yeah,
I got a question just on that sort of issue, because I've noticed once or twice, if I'm playing in handheld mode, playing Rocket League or something, and then one of the kids or something bumps the Pro controller, all of a sudden, it's got the primary controls. I can't do squat with what I'm holding. I have to go and pick up the other controller, put this down somewhere, and either play off that screen if the TV's in use or get it docked.
Oh, it immediately defaults to an external controller if that gets turned on. Oh, that's lame.
Rocket League is kind of weird with controllers. I think I've mentioned, I don't know if it was on the podcast or just to you guys, there's been a time when I've been playing on the TV, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in the other room. Let me pick it up. And when you pick it up off the dock, expecting it'll be a seamless transition. So I'm playing on the TV with the Pro controller. I pick it up out of the dock, and the game continues on the screen, but the Joy-Con are not set as the primary controllers. So I have no control over my car anymore, because none of the buttons or anything respond until you go out to the menu and then, reconfigure the controllers. So I think that's a Rocket League problem, possibly, because I think most games seem to switch pretty seamlessly. when I pick it up out of the dock and I can just go.
I mean, Nintendo has sold it as such in their commercials, right? You're playing on the TV and
Kind
you
of,
just grab
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I can't think of another game that has any such similar issues. The only thing that irks me is that I can't go sideways in like Namco Museum or the pinball ones and actually have it,
Still docked.
let me use the attached controller.
Yeah. Yeah, that too. Yeah.
All right.
It's I think that's a Rocket League issue.
It sounds like they need to work that out, because your problem and Barry's problem sound related.
I think Splatoon too. I'm pretty sure that one I can pick up when I'm playing with a Pro controller, and Odyssey even, and pick up out of the dock, and it'll just work. So yeah.
Breath of the Wild 2. That's the one I was thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, I did that often with Breath of the Wild. I do it occasionally. I do it with everything, right? Because I'll be playing something on the TV and baby's screaming, so I'll just grab it out of the dock and carry it with me, So
Yeah.
I've never had an issue with that.
I play all in handheld, so.
Yeah, my only issue that I have is when I pull it out of the dock, it's wired network. So if I'm playing anything online, it breaks it, and it's got to reconnect on Wi-Fi.
Oh yeah, that kind of stinks.
I hadn't thought about that.
But your online is solid when it's docked.
It really is rock solid, and as long as my internet's solid, which it usually is. But yeah, it is kind of an annoyance, because that was kind of a thing. I remember when it was still new, and it was like, I remember during the Splatoon test fires, I specifically tried doing that. Like, I would play it on the TV for a while and then pull it out and keep playing it. It works. But yeah, when you got wired network, that doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. Oh well. It's the price of being pro. Move along.
Which I totally am.
Yeah, I know.
Right. Yeah.
Since we're talking about controllers, might as well roll into a couple of accessory reviews here. Z has some new toys here that he's been playing with.
Yeah, I decided because they both, I saw deals pop up on Amazon, and so I just decided I had to grab them. So the what is it, the N30 arcade stick? Yeah, there you go. Down at the bottom there, the arcade stick, that went down to $48 on Amazon, so I nabbed it. And I read the reviews. They're 4-star kind of. And everyone said, it's a good stick. It's all right. It's not up to the quality of a professional fight stick, yada yada. That's fine. That's not what I'm buying it for. I'm buying it to play Pac-Man. The way I grew up playing it. I'm buying it for Namco Museum, and I'm buying it for the not pinball so much, but like Street Fighter. I can do Street Fighter 2 on the NES Mini with it. It's all right. Although I did have a weird issue when I was trying to do all UCANs, where I would, like, doing them fast, it would just randomly pause, and I wasn't pressing the start button. So I have a feeling there's going to be a firmware update for this guy coming soon, because that doesn't seem right. It was a weird button, some weird button combo I was doing must have been kicking that off. But it's a pretty, it's a nice, heavy, chunky stick. Like, it looks like it should be a good arcade stick, but I'll hold it up to my mic here. That's the clickiness of the joystick. And I don't know, it just doesn't feel as stiff as a stick should be. I toss that over to you, Mo.
Hey-o. Yeah, no.
I was expecting more than that.
I've never
what people do.
Joystick kind of guy, like the NES Advantage and stuff. I have a NES Advantage, but it's not my preferred way to play.
It was, when I got it, it was my preferred way to play on the NES for as the duration. The rest of the time I played the NES, that was my preferred controller, was that Advantage. And because I grew up in arcades before the NES existed, so like, to me it was always, that's the real controller, is the real arcade stick with the nice big buttons, and so that's just still a thing for me. And so for like virtual console stuff, the the Versus Super Mario Brothers. I had to play it with that. That's how I first played Super Mario Brothers. And I'm not going to get into the weird dating on that, but I'm pretty sure that it was that the Super Mario Brothers arcade version that I was playing before the NES was at least widely available in the US. Because I know there's all those weird, like they launched it after they'd already been selling it, supposedly, or sorry, they had a preview of it after they'd already been selling it. So I know there's some weird questions surrounding that, but anyway.
Yeah, those launch dates are all lost to history.
Yeah, but point being, what I noticed on Amazon, from reading through the reviews and from looking at what is commonly bought with this stick, is what a lot of guys do is there's these $200 fight sticks out there, right? Now this I got for $48. It's a good deal, and for decent quality. But if I wanted to upgrade it to something of the level of one of these $200 fight sticks, what I could theoretically do is there's a Bear Sanwa stick that everyone seems to pick up, and they buy it alongside this, or they buy it alongside. There's a Hori one that's like $60 or $70. They'll buy it with that. There's a few other companies that make kind of low budget sticks, but then you can slap a $20 Bear stick in it, and they like $15 for a package of like 8 or 12 buttons, so you can replace the buttons as well if you want. And then all of a sudden you've got like a pro quality fight stick for cost of one of those super duper expensive ones.
Upgrade.
So down the road, I might mod this thing. I might swap out the stick. One thing I did read about guys that were modding it is that this one you do have to solder, whereas some of the other ones, there's just a connector that you plug in and go, and it's super easy. This one, apparently, they didn't use the standard connector, so you actually have to cut the wires and solder it. So I have plenty of experience with that, so I'm not too worried about it. But for other people, that might be a barrier to entry if you're thinking about picking it up and upgrading it. And again, I'm not a hardcore fighter person. I just bought it to play arcade, stuff. Switch downloads, or when I really kind of bought it for the NES Mini when that comes back out, since I missed it the first time. But I'll also definitely use it for arcade ROMs on the PC and things like that. Like it's for me, it's just kind of more of a novelty control scheme that makes me feel like a kid again versus something that I'm going to try to use for legitimate competitive gaming experiences. But it's a nice piece of hardware. The other thing I picked up recently,
Street Fighter 2 comes out.
Before we jump off to that one,
totally.
I know you were talking about it earlier, and just to give people an idea, how big is this compared to? This is some other thing.
Like if you were to open if this stick were a hollow box, and you were to open it up, and you could probably stack 9 switches inside of it. At least maybe it doesn't, like, you know what I mean? It's this huge, it's like it's literally about it's bigger than the original Super NES was. Like it's large. Wow. It's a big, meaty, hefty, like it takes up your whole lap.
And a NES Advantage then.
Yeah, it's like much bigger than the NES Advantage. It's thick. It's probably 2 inches thick. To 2.5 inches. It's probably it's got some girth to it, man. It's 2.5 inches thick, probably, and it's like the size of a TV, of an old school TV dinner tray, at least. It's big.
See, one thing I didn't like about the NES Advantage was it's so lightweight that I felt like I basically had to be holding it down at the same time as I was playing it.
Yeah.
That was how I did it. Yeah, I pretty much, that's pretty much how I played it. Yeah, is you had to be holding it down, and yeah, I had like a special position in my lap, whatever. This is good and heavy. I mean, at the end of the day, nothing is an arcade cabinet that's like a couple hundred pounds or whatever, right? So there's still that. This is, to me, it's plenty heavy enough that it doesn't move around too much on your lap. The force of your hands on it is enough to keep it in place. I just don't quite have a desk that's the right height that it'll be comfortable to use. So I haven't really tried it that way yet, but just as a lap stick, yeah, it's cool. It kind of feels like you're sitting with a whole keyboard on your lap or something, It's big. But it's hard to believe that it's so much bigger than anything that I'm playing it on. The Super NES Mini or the Switch.
The reverse of that, I don't think we talked about last week. There's another wacky accessory that somebody made that's like a Versus style face-to-face cabinet where you can put a Switch on each side and then put two Joy-Con flat so that they're like joysticks. Like it makes it into basically an arcade style game.
Yeah, too bad we didn't.
Yeah,
too bad we didn't talk about that earlier. We didn't cue up a picture of that, but that thing is goofy, and it really does totally like we found the original cabinet that I remember playing those as a kid occasionally. It really looks good. It's a good, cute little model.
I don't know about
printer. I
don't know about using the Joy-Con stick with my finger and thumb though.
Hell no. But if I had a friend with a Switch, right?
Yeah,
I would put the two switches back to back and do it. Like that would be or something. We'd have to be using regular controller. Yeah. But I do Splatoon that way, 1-on-1, or Mario Kart 1-on-1, totally with the wife.
Yeah.
Anyway, randomly, the other thing I got from 8-Bit though is the just to mention it, is I did get one of those, the perfect replica SNES controllers that's just wireless. It's otherwise looks and feels and exactly like the originals. That said, one thing I noticed, it just isn't quite. It came out before the newer Pro ones that have the twin sticks and the extra triggers. Just doesn't feel quite as perfectly polished. Like one thing I noticed is the two shoulder buttons. The left one is slightly spongier than the right. The right's a little more clicky and like it's supposed to be, but the left one for some reason is just slightly spongier. Not enough to be a problem, just enough that I notice, and it just irks me that they're not identical. Also, I noticed totally dumb, and I wouldn't ever have noticed unless I had them side by side to compare. But the top two, the what is it, the X and the Y button on the Super NES controller, those were the concave ones.
Mm-hmm.
The edges of those are not quite as smooth and rounded as A, they were on the originals, or B, they are on those Pro ones with the twin sticks. So that, you know what I mean? It just seems like certain touches are just not quite as polished as they are on the next generation controllers they put out. So that's an interesting point. It's just, it seems to be a trend with their stuff, which gives me high hopes that their stuff will continue to get better.
The two stick one you're talking about are the two in the upper right corner, correct? So
yeah, exactly. The two, there's a NES and a Famicom version.
Mm-hmm.
And they look like the originals, but they have two extra. They're a modern controller. They're a full Switch compatible. They have Rumble, not HD Rumble, and they also are lacking the Amiibo pad, but otherwise they're a fully functional Switch controller with all full set of buttons, even a home and capture button on them.
Right.
But then they're also, fully compatible with Android, Mac, PC, yada yada.
Pretty cool stuff. Well, we found out there was some kind of limitation to that, like it would work with iOS, but not Mac. I don't know. I don't remember what it was. It would work with one, but not the other.
Yeah. But still, if you've got an emulator.
Exactly. Honestly, I probably would. For a Switch, they're great. Don't get me wrong. And honestly, the Pro is kind of my go-to controller most of the time, just because it's a little smaller and more convenient to carry around. Because, like I said, I'm always going, running around for the baby or whatever, going from room to room. So I can just throw that in my pocket, whereas the Pro controller, not so much. And it's still a more, it's still better than playing with the two Joy-Cons separate. It's still to me, it's a legitimate replacement for the Pro controller. It's almost as good, except it just doesn't have the grip stalks, right? it's not as meaty and easy to handle because it's still kind of a smaller thing. But otherwise, it's, you know, full motion controls. Again, I'll point out I still primarily play Splatoon with that and Mario and everything else, so I can do all the stupid hat stuff. So highly recommended, but I know I've gushed about the 8BitDo stuff before. All around, I have been very happy with it. The only one I wasn't was that crossover they did with Retrobit on that N64 controller. It felt a little half-assed, but I'm going to kind of blame Retrobit for that one.
It's probably their fault.
Yeah.
Just based on the experience I've had, because I've also picked up the little retro receiver plug-in thingies for the, you know, because that's how you have to have those to use it with the mini, or with a Wii.
Super nice. Yeah.
And those are similarly very good quality. And again, these guys, all this hardware now, because I have like 5 different things from them, or 4, I think. They put out regular firmware updates for all of it. You know, any sort of tweak or bug fix or whatever, they seem to be pretty good about it. On the flip side, you just have to be comfortable plugging these things into a PC every few weeks to get all the latest firmware updates and yada yada.
That's pretty seamless, though, right?
Oh, painless and quick. Just, you know, it's just a case. In my case, it's like, okay, I've got, you know, 5 controllers to dig up, and I have like a whole process that I go through and plug one in and do it, and then the next one. But yeah, each one to update usually takes 2 or 3 minutes. Just got to dig out, and because I have different generations of them, right? I have 3 different kinds of cables I need for them. So yeah, it kind of becomes a whole thing.
But for the average person, just picking up one, probably not that much of anything. Yeah,
and I'll also mention, if you're picking up the modern ones, they use all modern stuff. It's USB-C on the Pros, and it was, you know, micro USB on the previous ones. The giant stick, they used a full-on old school big size USB port. So that has its own straight USB to USB cable.
What is just out of curiosity, since we're talking about USB cables, I mean, immediately start thinking about charging. What is the battery life like? Is it comparable to the Pro controller?
Oh, you know what? I will say it is a little bit smaller and lighter on those Pros, so it doesn't seem. I've run it out before. It doesn't seem to last quite as long, but I couldn't really give you an hour. I would ballpark it at about half, just in terms of my use. You know, just kind of in my head comparing it from playtime, because we did. Like when Zelda came out, we put a ton of hours. And so now I've finally put some real time into Mario and put some time into the Zelda DLC. So I do have a comparison to give. And it seems like it's maybe got about half the battery capacity to maybe 2/3. So not bad, but not, you know, you got to recharge it soon enough.
Cool.
The big stick, apparently, I don't know how big it's heavy. Maybe part of that weight is a battery. That big stick's boasts a 18-hour battery life on the website. So I don't know how long. I definitely wouldn't. This would seem more like a 6-hour to 8-hour maybe on the 8BitDo on the Super Nintendo Pro controller. And I haven't run out the little mini one yet, so I don't know.
Cool.
But you could probably play it plugged in too if you wanted to.
Oh, yeah, yes, exactly. Just to throw that out. Thank you, Mo. Yeah, so for example, when playing Zelda or something, this ran out. Just plug it into the wall and you're good to go. Just make sure you don't plug it into a PC to charge it, because then it will decide it's playing in right? It will decide it's USB connected to your PC, and that's what it's controlling.
Yeah. So it'll look for a firmware.
So I did that by accident. Yeah.
All right. Well, appreciate the review, Z, sharing your experience with us.
Oh, random point of note. The USB ports for charging these guys also act as a connection port for right. You can plug this fight stick into the Switch if you really want, and you know what I mean? And then you get your zero lag USB direct connected stick. Yeah. Same thing with the Pros and stuff. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying thanks for the reviews and checking these things out for us, because I know we're always looking for something new for all of us with controllers or different accessories. Appreciate it.
Well, it's, you know, when I thought about it, and I realized I've like been dropping money about one of these a month on these controllers now, and I realized I think it's because there's no games to buy. Right? There's just nothing. There's nothing big coming out for the Switch, and I'm just itching to spend my little monthly allotment on, you know, a game or something, and so I buy a crazy controller.
But yeah, Nintendo just dropped another trailer today. That's just kind of a general Switch trailer, which they did one last week, and on both of them, I think when the trailer ends, it just says like coming soon and shows the Kirby box art and the Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze box art.
Funky mode is $10 more. Yeah. Hey, go ahead.
I was just going to say they also dropped speaking of Kirby, a Kirby Star Allies trailer or a commercial rather in Japan. So I didn't watch it because
I bet it's real high pitched and cutesy.
Probably.
But have we talked about the fact that Funky mode is $10 more?
No, we haven't.
You're paying the Donkey Kong. I guess I had forgotten, and we just kind of remembered when we were chatting about it the other day. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze was $50 when it came out on Wii U, and now it's $60. And that's across the board, presumably download version, whatever.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say, this is something that Barry brought up to us the other day. I was going to give him a shout out, and then ended up he was able to join us tonight. But it's currently a Nintendo Selects title, the Wii U version of Tropical Freeze, which is what, $20?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and it lacks the easy mode, whereas in Zelda, you had to buy DLC to get the hard mode. Now, here you're paying extra to get the easy mode. Like, how does this make sense? And it just, I mean, what does that mean? Does that mean that they just decided they can get a premium for everything on this console because it's just so hotcakes right now?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Like, it's new to you, baby, $60. Fork it over.
That's like Mario Kart Deluxe. You got more stuff, and I think it was $10 cheaper. Wasn't it $50? Switch Mario Kart Deluxe.
No, I don't know.
It was full price.
I'm gonna look that up because I thought it was cheaper. But point being, this is still let's see.
I think we could
release price.
What was you saying?
Sorry, go ahead, Barry.
I'm pretty sure Mario Kart was full price.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. Although at the time when I bought it, I got, I've said before, I got Pikmin 3 for free. So
yeah, same here.
Yeah.
Which at the time was a $60 game.
Well, no, I'm talking about Deluxe was full. I was wondering if Deluxe was full price.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I thought
Switch?
I thought 8 Deluxe had been $10 cheaper, but no, you're right. It is $59.99.
Yeah.
But you got more stuff for the same price. Now you get Funky mode for $10 more. That's just, I don't know, man. Nintendo's really, to me, it's Nintendo really reaching and
I guarantee
looking to burn themselves.
If Super Mario 3D World ever comes out, it'll be $60. Like, everything's gonna be $60. If they put it over, this is their chance to make the money that they didn't make on the Wii U.
But a $60 side scroller, really? I know it's a Nintendo game, and I know it's Donkey Kong, but it's a side scroller in 2018. That's not a AAA title. It just can't be.
Yeah. I think they're gonna
ask a AAA price.
I don't even know how well it's going to sell, to be honest. Like, I passed on it on the Wii U.
I don't think it's... Yeah. I think it's going to be a Switch Select $40 in 6 months.
But
yeah, that's the thing. If they released it at $40 or $50, I think it would sell okay. I think it would do well. $60, I think a lot of people will pass. A lot of people will pass a Nintendo. Oh. But hey, it's hopefully it didn't cost them much to port it. Right?
I'm sure it cost them next to nothing. But who knows? Maybe they did maybe they did some advancements. Like I know that people have done like frame by frame on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and said that, you know, it is better and smoother on Switch, that it wasn't just a direct copy and paste, that they did update some stuff. And so it's possible that maybe I remember when Donkey Kong came out on Wii U, they were talking about like how amazing Donkey Kong's fur looks, and maybe that fur will be even more touchably soft on Switch.
I can't. Here's the thing. However, quote unquote amazing Donkey Kong's fur looked on Wii U, I guarantee you there was infinitely more amazing looking fur on the PS4 and the Xbox One at the time. Yeah. Well, no, because right by the time Tropical Freeze came out, those consoles were out.
Yeah.
So sometimes we're in the echo chamber and we get a lot of that. Wow, this is so amazing. If all you play is Nintendo stuff. Yeah.
Right.
And we're saying,
but we'll see. Oh, good.
I was going to say, we're saying it's a $10 upgrade, but literally, if you were going to buy this, if you have a Wii U, and you're like, I'm going to go pick this up, this is a $40 difference to play it on the Switch.
Yeah.
And it's a graphic.
Yeah. You can buy it on the Wii U eShop right now for $20.
Yep.
Yep.
You might,
or you can go pick up the.
Might get it on a discount or sale at a store if you're willing to, look around or
even cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because I would get my 20% discount at Best Buy if I bought a physical copy of it. So it'd be 20% lower than $20. So yeah, they're reaching.
It's as low as, let's say, you can get it. You can get the Nintendo Selects as low as $11 on Amazon.
See, so you're talking about $50 difference here. That's a huge jump, even if it is graphically superior. Yeah, that's some Switch tags.
Yeah, well, that's. I think Nintendo is
that's used.
Grabbing.
New is still $20. Sorry, go ahead. But $20.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again,
I mean, how much did they spend probably developing this thing and then sold like 5 copies on the Wii U? So they look at this as an opportunity to make some money back.
We'll see. I don't know.
Did any of
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, did any of us buy it on Wii U?
I did.
So you did. He buys everything.
Well, it's a monkey game, of course. Monkey Finger's got to get the monkey.
It was Donkey Kong. Yeah, I had to represent the Donkey Kong, but and honestly, I had played Donkey Kong Country Returns, the 3DS port, and played it thoroughly and really enjoyed it. So I was like, all right, I'm on board for the next Donkey Kong Country. And I don't.
But we complained too when the Bethesda put Doom out for $60, and it's been 20 or 25 on the other systems for a while. So, I mean, people see dollar signs when they look at the Switch and just say, let's just put it out there full price and see what happens.
Yeah, and it's Doom's been out now for a few months. There should have been a good deal on it by now. And looking at Amazon price tracking history, there hasn't been.
No, there was an eShop sale, but it wasn't a huge one.
It was like $12 off or something. It was like the same amount you could get off. I think it was the same amount you could get off at Best Buy if you have the membership.
It's like one of those "Hey, remember me" sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the first major kick on those. I mean, they had a minor wave with Mario and Rabbids and the ARMS and 1-2 Switch and those, but I've been waiting, looking at Skyrim for a while, and it's still, there's been no wavering in the price if you can even find a copy.
Skyrim's something I would pick up potentially if it dropped down to $20-25. Sorry, go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, do you think with the drought of games that we're kind of in right now through the rest of spring and summer, is it more likely these games are going to come down in price?
I think we'll see summer sales.
Yeah, I think so too. Something definitely.
Sorry for the echo.
No worries.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, some of these games will, especially now that some of the stuff starts getting a year old, will go on sale. I think Nintendo should really put even like Breath of the Wild. It might be time to drop that down.
But they just put out like that special edition, right?
Yeah.
So
That would've been a good time.
that's not anytime soon. Yeah, that would have. Yeah, but I mean, we'll see that special edition drop before too long. I think
traditionally, when a game on Nintendo breaks the million seller point, that's when it becomes eligible for a selects title.
So that already makes Zelda, Mario, and Splatoon.
Yeah, and Mario Kart.
Oh, and Kart,
Deluxe. But yeah. It'd be nice if they just ever put anything on sale. Sorry, Jason.
I was just going to say, if they put this on sale, if they put Breath of the Wild on sale or any of the other top sellers there,
that's your hat.
Oh. No, I'm going to say that's Nintendo Direct worthy. That is Reggie in front of a camera saying, "Can you believe this?"
Yeah.
Yeah, they will. When they do finally come up with the Switch Selects line, which they'll probably call something different.
Yeah.
But when they do start announcing that, hey, all these original games are going to get, slashed drastically, it will be a big marketing campaign, I think.
Buy 3, get the fourth one free.
I cannot see that happening in the first 2 years of the Switch.
No.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
They're going to wait for a slump.
Are we in that slump, though? Are we coming to a slump?
We're definitely in a slump. Well, we're in a slump if you're a Wii U owner.
We just don't know. Yeah, I mean, we don't know right now anything. I've noticed people are back to screaming for a Direct anytime Nintendo puts anything on Twitter. It's just, when's the next Direct?
Well, yeah, because you haven't shown us enough. Dark Souls 3, good enough. That's not good enough. Donkey Kong, we've got coming. Sorry, go ahead.
At most, I can see them doing with something like Breath of the Wild is some sort of deal for the DLC, either discounted or free.
Yeah,
I would
make it part of the game price,
whatever that includes all the DLC and is 40 or $50.
Well, they've already got a all-in-one bundle, don't they, on the eShop where you can buy.
But that's
but it's still $80. Yeah, it's still the full price.
Yeah.
But yeah, they eventually. I mean, traditionally games will do on the other systems will do Game of the Year editions where they bundle all that stuff in. So at some point, Nintendo actually has the opportunity now to do a Game of the Year edition of one of their games.
Have they ever had a Game of the Year before, at least in the last few generations?
I wonder. I mean, they had stuff in the running always.
I think Between Worlds was in whenever it released for
oh, that's true.
Yeah, I think it was, or it won somebody's Game of the Year.
Why was that so forgettable? I enjoyed that game, but it just seemed like it just was a blip on the radar. And we saw the sales when we looked at the sales charts. That one sold very poorly. That's disappointing because I did think it was a very solid game. It's
$20 now.
Yeah, hopefully they make back some sales on it. It's it was a worthwhile Zelda game. One of the few I've played all the way through.
And it was the first one of the sort of new generation here where they've gone back to giving you more freedom into how you pick your dungeon orders and stuff too.
That is you make a good point. That was the first one that they touted as, hey, you don't necessarily need to do everything in the same order. You can because you can rent all the items from the goofy Ravi dude. Yeah, you could rent all the items from him, so you could just rent the item you needed to go complete this particular dungeon or whatever. Yeah, it was kind of neat. It was the first, very good call, Barry. Yeah, it was the first kind of inklings of a return to that philosophy.
It was a good game, but I think for many people it was sort of skippable because it probably just seemed too much like the A Link to the Past, which is a good game, but.
Yeah. Well, I think, but for people in our age group, though, that's total nostalgia, and that's a reason to buy it.
Yeah, there was never. I mean, there were all the Game Boy games and whatever, but there was never really a direct sequel to Link to the Past, or another game that was
a bit niche, though, because of that.
Probably.
Okay, man,
Yeah,
fair enough.
because we've been living in a 3D world for so long with that series.
Well, and two, this was
Step back, kind of.
this was a portable game on the 3DS, and those typically don't do as well as the main console, home console.
Series. Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Even though the 3DS sold way more than Wii U, but yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Yeah, I point out. I mean, I completed Link Between Worlds. I never completed Link to the Past. Like, I was not. The SNES was not really my console generation.
Yeah.
So to me, it was a mix of, oh, I remember this. I played it at the time, and but somehow the new one was more engaging to me than the original.
And it had the awesome mechanic of walking on the walls, sort of like the Mario 2D mechanic in Odyssey.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's also the first real inclination of that as well. That's almost certainly where they came up with the idea for the Odyssey stuff. Yeah, a neat mechanic. It was a neat game. And the 3D, I mean, I'm a fan of all the gimmicky crap. The 3D was very well done in the game. Everything was all top down, right? With a cool 3D look. You have a little bird that would fly you around, and yeah, it was very well done. Very pretty game.
It was a cool 3D look, but it wasn't entirely essential to play in 3D mode either.
Yeah, no. But the 3D lended itself, like, right, the dungeons would have multiple floors that would have like grates that you could see the next floor down and whatever. So yeah, still not critical to have the depth, but it was a very good use of it, right?
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, all around just well done. A little too easy, I think people said, and I kind of agree with that. But
it's kind of nice to have an easy one every now and then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I didn't
maybe
want
I should
anything
check that
too
one
brutal.
out.
Just kind of cruise through the adventure and not. I mean, you still have to fight. You still have to do stuff. It's not. It's not simple, but it's nothing's really going to kill you over and over. Nothing's.
If you are looking to get into the Zelda series, but you're unsure about it, that's the one to go to. If you have a 3DS, by all means.
Yeah, you know what? If you're looking for that old school top-down Zelda feel, but with it's kind of like the modern 8-bit remakes where they kind of polish up all the controls and it's kind of it really is just kind of a much more polished, modernized version of Link to the Past. So if you know what I mean,
they'll ever do like I guess they'd be like HD remakes, but of some of the 8-bit or 16-bit. Like I'd love to see like Super Metroid on the Switch that's just kind of got a little bit of facelift like the Zero Mission or
I've wanted
stuff
I've
like
wanted
that.
all of those. Yeah, like a 2.5D with very nice rendered 3D models
or the original Zelda or
Yeah, I would like to see or Super Mario. Yeah, I would like to see, or hell, Excite Bike, you name it. Go through the old 8-bit catalog, 16-bit catalog, and make nice, like kind of what they did with New Super Mario Brothers, right?
When they were doing the 3D classics on the 3DS, I kept hoping they would do A Link to the Past that way. And
that would have been
to an extent, Breath of the Wild was that, and not Breath of the Wild. Sorry, the
Link Between Worlds.
Worlds. But I've always been a fan, a little bit of a preference to the original format for the Zelda, the top-down 2D. Like the original was, like A Link to the Past was, and Breath of the Wild fits in that genre nicely, which is funny to talk about because it's such a 3D focused game, but it is a traditional 2D Zelda.
Link Between
more
Worlds.
or less.
Yeah, they play with levels and stuff, but
I call
yeah,
Joy-Cons Wiimotes all the time. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I still do. And by the way, since you're talking about that, do you consider Adventure of Link a travesty?
It's sort of the weird uncle. I never really got into it.
That was the first one I really played through, I think, and then I went back and played the original Zelda.
And you said, "What have I been playing all this time?"
Kind of a little bit like, oh god, that game was just brutal, and it was brutal because of, in large part, of just because it was a slog to get through the overworld, and the controls were weird and awkward in the it was mostly about the overworld. But then it was, it was otherwise, a side scroller. That was the other thing. It seemed like they went through a period where Mario clones was all the rage for a short period of time, and the Adventure of Link kind of fell in that period where everything had to be a side-scrolling platformer of some type.
I always compare it to Castlevania 2.
Yeah.
It was also different in that you had 3 lives, and once you died, you were like, you could get an extra one somewhere, I think, but that was it. You had to start again from scratch. Whereas with the other Zeldas, you could die however many times. You'd just have to redo things a bit, but you didn't lose all your progress.
Yeah, you had to get through. I thought you could save at certain points. Yeah, you could save.
Well, okay, yeah,
but I know what you're saying. It was basically there was. I think it was limited in your save capabilities, and yeah, you had very, very limited resources as to where, between saves. But yeah, right? Am I crazy? No, you could save, because I remember I was saved for a long time at that part with the ghosts that were transparent. It was anytime they just make the bad guys invisible, that's just the cheapest out ever.
Luckily now you can just get it on Virtual Console and use save states if you've got a 3DS or Wii.
And you want to just punish the crap out of yourself.
there's something about that I just avoid.
See, I got it in one of those collections, and I said, I've beat several of these Zelda games. I'm a veteran of the series. Let's tackle this thing and finally play through it and beat it. No.
You said that was Star Fox Zero as well.
How far did you get, Jason?
Not very far. It was terrible.
Yeah.
How many
I
dungeons?
will say, all right.
Maybe the second one. I don't know if I made it to the second one. It wasn't very far. It was terrible.
You had to go through some nightmare cave to get to the second dungeon, as I remember.
I think that's where I was dying.
I think I spent like an entire weekend trying to get through that friggin' cave.
Yeah, I remember a cave, and I remember darkness. Very dark. Very dark.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's dark in there, and you can't see the monsters, so you just walk right into them and die. Yeah, that's right.
I just meant
I think I got to about the 3rd dungeon on that one. I never finished it either.
That's really the badge of honor for me, is having completed that game, completely completed. That was the first appearance of Dark Link, who was ungodly brutal. Just, I can't even. And if you died on him, that there was something. If you died on him, like you had to restart the entire dungeon if you died on the boss. I do remember that. You started back at the dead beginning of the dungeon. And there was like 3 bosses in a row of the last dungeon, one of which was Dark Link. I can't even remember if he was before or after Ganon.
I remember that laugh.
That you would hear a million times. Game over, return to Ganon.
See, that was from the simpler time where when you think of games like Link to the Past, or not Link to the Past, what was that, Link's Adventure, and Castlevania 2, and even Super Mario Brothers 2, that was a time when they hadn't yet developed the awesome sell them the same thing but different. And they tried to make sequels something different than the first one.
Well, Nintendo, right? Nintendo's always been that way. I mean, Mario Kart's still the same old Mario Kart because they know not to mess with the formula. But then they say, well, for F-Zero, we need to take the series in a new direction, and we don't know what that is. Because they already consider Mario Kart their racer. And you know what I mean? And Smash Brothers is their fighter. Oh, go ahead.
There were big changes as Mario Kart's gone, and in some ways they've come full circle. But again, when they made the hop to the 3D model Mario Kart and they got rid of coins, they hadn't yet developed the recycling old tracks.
When did they add the drift mechanic? Do you remember?
Double Dash?
It was in 64, wasn't it?
I think it was 64. I could be wrong, but like,
The
I
DS
remember
definitely had it. Oh, go
a
ahead.
Nintendo version where there was none, and at first when I started playing, Mario Kart DS or other things, and people were using these drift boosts, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I would so train myself playing Mario Kart to take the most efficient path, not this snaking around and getting extra bonuses.
Yeah. See,
That's
to
so
me,
weird.
that always bothered me. Like
Well, Mario Kart 8 had the boost jumping thing, remember?
that too.
Um,
Like Mario Kart ceased to be a racer anymore and became just kind of an arcade mini game at that point when the drifting. 'Cause the other thing that bothers me about the drifting is not something that drifting ruins the whole pick up and play capability of Mario Kart. Drifting is something that has to be learned and is
Yeah.
like a pro move. So immediately, if you hand it to a kid, they're at the end of the line. They're in the back because they can't drift. And that's what bothered me is people, if you give somebody kind of a more basic racer, yeah, they get the blue shell or they get whatever, but it's still like, you know what I mean? They obviously can't keep up if they can't drift. And so
It just
The
now
modern
hit me.
drifting is a lot better though than the early when they first put it in, and going down a straight road, you could snake back and forth and be going faster than just
Yeah.
going in a straight line.
yeah,
the
the
snake
old
boosting.
the old tricks. I remember seeing that in DS. People were just
See?
constantly back and forth across.
I just you sparked something in me that I just remember last week. So I went to this arcade that they put in our mall, and they have the sit down Mario Kart arcade game. So my daughter and I played it where I worked the pedals, and there's a brake and a gas, and then she worked the steering wheel. But there is no drifting in that. Like, it's just flat up right. And we only played 2 races, and she won first place in both of them without me helping at all. And then it's got like a little button for items that you can press when you want to throw a shell. So she always would just use her items immediately and waste them.
but there's no jumping,
But there's no jumping, and there's no
so no
there's no
drifting.
drifting. No, it's just a straight up racer.
Well, because it's the arcade one that's supposed to be accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
So I wish you could just turn off drifting. I would do that for when I have, you know what I mean? When I have family
Yeah.
over, when I have a bunch of kids over, and it puts everybody on a more level playing field. Because you're right, even with the bumper stuff, sure, they won't go off, but if you're not drifting, you're half a lap behind everybody.
I mean, I don't know. They keep it competitive with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with the assist stuff. Like, she's never dead last. But anyway, I feel like
That's true.
we're
Not
way
against
off.
computers. We're way off.
Yeah, we weren't planning to talk about Mario Kart or A Link Between Worlds, but we did. Of course.
That's what happens.
That's what happens. That's because it's a
Yeah,
real,
podcast.
legitimate podcast experience.
Conversation experience.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's the best part about the show. So, a couple of games come out. One of them being Bayonetta 2, and there was a kind of a huge misstep by Nintendo, which is unusual. And that
Is it?
well, in this facet, it is. They had misprinted download codes for the original Bayonetta, and apparently it was a big enough problem that they tweeted about it. And if they've tweeted about a mistake they've made, it must be pretty big.
Yeah, they published it, right? So it's really on them. I mean, they probably contracted that out. They probably didn't print them in house or anything.
Right. But
but it is kind of on them that those got screwed up. Whoever they contracted to do it or whatever happened.
They weren't handwritten by Reggie, I don't think.
Yeah, no, but you know what I mean. I'm sure there's some company. I'm sure that some company prints them, right. and probably also handles the coding for them and all that business.
This could have all been solved by you guys just having a physical copy, Nintendo.
Yeah,
that's right.
But we know
think people who bought a physical copy of the game would love to have a physical copy of both games.
Yeah, but it's a different world when you're talking about memory cards versus discs.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's just like they had announced, which I don't think we were going to talk about, but Capcom's finally confirmed officially that Mega Man Legacy Collection Volume 1 and 2 are coming out. The physical one's going to have the physical copy of Mega Man 1, but a digital version of
Oh, that's right.
of the collection too. So, or the part 2 of the collection or whatever. So that seems to be a way where I don't know why they're just like, well, we're only going to make one cart. So,
well, it's just like Doom. It's just like, right, Doom here, a substantial portion of the game is going to be download only, right? The multiplayer was like a several gig download. So that's just, it's right. Everyone's just trying to get around the fact that the cards cost more, and the more memory you have in them, the more they cost.
Yeah.
Before we leave the Mega Man Collection 1 and 2, Barry pointed this out to us the other day that the physical and digital only versions are $5 difference in price, with the physical being higher. And the only difference is you get a cleaning cloth with a pre-order, I believe. $5 cleaning cloth.
See, if you got 2 physical versions, it would have been $10 more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you would have gotten an extra cleaning cloth.
That's right.
But see, since I picked the Mega Man collection on 3DS, which I don't think it ever came out for Wii U. I could be wrong, but I think it was only 3DS that it came out for. But I picked it up for like $10 on sale, although the second half of the collection never did come out. Yeah, but the first collection is all you need.
I think
I got it, like $7 or $8, but go ahead.
I think I got it on GameCube launch day for $19.99 or something like that.
Yeah, I have that one too.
Wait, this came out on GameCube?
Well, not exactly the same thing. It was called the Mega Man Collection, I think, back then, and this is like the Legacy Collection, but Anniversary. That's right. But that one had like cool like box art that was scanned in it. This one might have some of that too.
It does.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah. I played around with the 3DS one, and it does have all that kind of stuff as well. Sorry, go ahead.
The remix of the music, I still boot up some of those tracks. You can find them on YouTube. Like my favorite, I think, was
Mega Man 2.
Plant Man theme or something like that.
Oh, Plant Man.
And again, I'll as I like to point out, I played all the way through Mega Man 1 and beat it. I never wanted to play another Mega Man game after that.
You played the hardest one first.
That's so brutal. Oh,
it is horrible.
And yet I played through Mega Man 2 all the way, the easiest one, and I have no desire to play through another Mega Man game.
I've played,
but it wasn't. I mean, I don't know. I save stated my way through a lot of it.
I played through 2 a lot as a kid, and I really liked that one, and I got to know it backwards and forwards. 3 I played less, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Those were the main 2 I played. But the thing that always bugs me about every version since of 3 is that a lot of the old tricks that used to work don't apply anymore. My brother and I found this trick where if you held down on the second controller and went into a pit, and there was something above you that could hurt you, it would suck all your life out, but you wouldn't die, and you could jump out of the pit, and you could get through all kinds of levels like that. Well, there's never a second controller to hold down on, so you can't use that anymore.
Yeah.
So it made things a lot easier for the harder parts. And
I don't know if I was ever aware of that trick.
Me either.
Yeah.
That's a neat old trick.
Yeah. I used the Game Genie. I cheated.
See, I was always of the mindset that the Game Genie was, a travesty.
Like I was of the mindset that it was something my parents wouldn't buy me. Otherwise, I would have been all over it.
No, the kids that had Game Genies, I was like, "Fuck you guys, you're cheaters."
I was a cheater that got to play all of the game that I could not complete on my own.
Yeah. Oh no! Don't get me wrong. Like when I was talking about Doom earlier, I would be perfectly happy to use a cheat code for Doom right now.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, even on the easiest difficulty level, Doom still. I mean, it's
legit. Like I said, I'm out of ammo in that one area, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
All right.
Like I said, use a chainsaw. But yeah, sorry.
Before we get back on Doom again, move on to our next game, and I thought this was a really cool fact. And SteamWorld Dig 2 was recently released on the 3DS, and it runs at 60 frames per second on every 3DS version, and that's in 3D. I think that's pretty dang impressive. So,
Well, let us not forget though the resolution of the 3DS, which is what 320 by 240. If I'm not mistaken.
Well, you know what though?
No. It's
not every game though can say that though.
320 by I think 800. I forgot because it's the widescreen and the weird double because the 3D. But sorry, go ahead. You were saying, Mo.
Well, even Nintendo games drop frame rate sometimes in 3D mode.
And some Nintendo games just don't have a 3D mode for that reason as well.
Well, I think all of them from here on out won't. Would be my guess, since the 2DS is the thing. But yeah, it's cool. I'm surprised that it even came out at all for 3DS. To be honest.
Yeah.
Well, they have a
I
history.
wasn't expecting it to.
They have the history on the 3DS, you know.
That is true.
Right, yeah. That kind of made them as a company.
And they'll probably get a legitimate amount of sales.
Yeah. If it was closer to the time, I wouldn't have cared to have it on the 3DS instead of the Switch even.
Yeah.
But kudos to Image and Form. Good work, guys.
It's a good game.
Good game if you haven't played it.
I haven't played it, but yeah. Which I haven't, and it was on sale. It will be again.
I enjoyed the first one enough, and I respect the SteamWorld games. I just, there's just so much out there,
Yeah.
Everyone's got their own thing they're into, and I'm, I respect, it's definitely a quality title, it's almost not even an indie anymore because it's gotten big enough. So yeah, I mean, more power to them, but there's a million things like that sure, I'd love to download and mess around with. It's just so much stuff. Like Golf Story. I keep looking at Golf Story, man. That was a cool one. You played all the way through that, didn't you, Jason?
Yeah, it's fun. Good times. If you like golf at all, good game.
Yeah, no, I'm all about it as soon as there's a deal on it. But it's just I've already got a backlog on the Switch, man.
I like golf games. And I thought about Golf Story, but the fact that it has the word RPG elements is what scares me off of it. But
it's not like it's not like you're picking up a Fire Emblem game or Final Fantasy.
Yeah,
more like Pokemon with golf.
It's not even that far.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's all right because I tried Pokemon too on some of the demos on the 3DS, and I was like, this is boring me.
You do walk around and you talk to characters. The dialogue is witty. You get challenges and things like that you have to do, and sometimes it's crazy stuff, but it just fits in with the game.
Yeah,
it does have a level up system like RPG, but it's just you can basically work it to where it's pretty even as you level up.
So that's all I mean by RPG elements is it's just
elements.
It levels up.
It's got leveling up, and it's got you can upgrade your stuff, and you can talk to people, and
it's pretty simple. I mean, it's a good game. If you get bored and want something to play, I definitely.
But yeah, point being, what are these? There's hundreds of games on the Switch now. Like 3 times as much stuff as on the Wii U. At this point in its cycle, right?
Yeah.
There's just we live in this era like of Netflix and Steam and where there's just so much stuff. So you just got to pick and choose.
I'm sorry if you guys are making me think of what Kimishima says. Please enjoy the games that are already available.
Yeah.
You're playing right into his hand there.
Well, it's sure, except that I'm a Wii U owner, and there ain't nothing available for me. There's a lot of indie stuff, and there ain't no AAA titles. There's Funky Mode, and there's Bayonetta.
Well, Nintendo had talked about that this week, too, saying they don't make a distinction between an indie title and a AAA title. They view them both equally. A game is a game.
Well, because from a money perspective, any one can be a million seller. So from their mindset, there's no difference. They can make a crap load of cash on either. But from a gamer's perspective, there is. From a consumer's perspective, you need a good mix. It can't be all indies. It can't be all small houses. That's what we had on Wii U, and that ain't good enough.
Before we get too far off topic into this, we will be discussing Nintendo's ideas on different things in an upcoming anniversary episode for the Switch. So
That's
stay
right.
tuned for more.
But yeah, that gets me thinking now too that I bet the Switch is probably the first Nintendo system in a long time, if not ever, that I bet some of their third-party stuff is outselling the first-party titles.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
I wonder
according
if
to the
like
download
Stardew,
list, yeah.
and Rocket League and maybe the Overcooked, like some of those got to be outselling probably, more than 2 million copies. They're outselling
Yeah,
Splatoon
because they
for
have
sure.
more than their core fan base
Yeah,
on board.
I mean they're
for
cheaper
once.
too, but yeah.
Here's the other thing: is the Switch has a broader appeal than the 3DS did. Would you agree? Like I was at a family Chinese New Year because I got an Asian wife, right? And there was a kid
Yeah.
like collecting his money from Chinese New Year and talking to his dad and said, okay, so he was counting up how much he had already. And, okay, so this is such and such, I have X number of dollars. Okay, can I get a Nintendo Switch yet? He actually asked for it by name, like Meow Mix.
Yeah, I think the 3DS, like it feels like, or always had the feel to me, because that was like the system that got me back into Nintendo after kind of taking a break. It always felt like kind of a secondary kind of like, oh, that's just their portable. It's like their secondary thing. It's not their main console. They just, because like Game Boy to me was not. I skipped the Game Boy. Like to me, I was like, this is a piece of junk compared to the NES. These aren't real game experiences. But I think Switch has that appeal that it's their actual console,
Blasphemy.
and it's their it feels like a real console, and that's like, oh, I'm gonna get their main thing, and it's the fact that it's portable is just like a kicker. So I think that adds to the appeal, though, that like you can play some of these great Breath of the Wilds and stuff like that.
Yeah, and the 3DS just always felt like a niche thing. Like if you right, you
Yeah. What
the
was
Switch,
huge for 3DS outside of Pokemon and like Animal Crossing?
like,
Yeah.
but also it's like if you were to mention a 3DS to an average person, they're like, a what? The Nintendo.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like the Game Boy? Oh, yeah, the new Nintendo, whatever. But a Switch is in the public consciousness. It's a household word. Most average people have heard of it at this point, right?
It has
Or
Super
that's
Bowl
that new
commercial.
Nintendo thing, right?
It's true.
Yeah.
So it's just got that broader name recognition. There's going to be a lot of people right. The Wii U owners, everybody who owned a Wii U, with probably a very small percentage of exceptions, was a 3DS owner, and
Probably, yeah.
most, I would say, maybe a quarter of 3DS owners were Wii U owners. Probably more than that because we all bought multiple 3DSs. We don't know real numbers of ownership. I would bet half of 3DS owners own Wii U's. Still a niche, right?
Yeah. Maybe.
This is finally out of that where it's no longer, and so just all this stuff can flourish. But I still don't. Just going back to your point, Mo, of what you were saying about third-party titles actually outselling Nintendo titles. Because, right, we're finally on a console that somebody other than the core Nintendo fan base has, and that hasn't been the case since the Wii. But the Wii's an aberration because it couldn't handle third-party titles, or decent ones.
Just Dance. No.
Yeah, exactly.
I get the feeling that anymore. Nintendo considers. I get the feeling that anymore. Nintendo considers the 3DS and the 2DS to be for kids, and the Switch is for grown-ups.
That's true. That's true too, and every kid wants to be a grown-up, so that'll help its appeal as well. But I think also Nintendo fans have been starved for, third parties. Everyone always says, well, Nintendo fans don't buy, like mature titles, or they don't buy shooters, they don't buy third parties in general. And it's like, well, when have we had a chance?
Well,
like not since Nintendo or Super Nintendo.
Well, because no, N64, right? We got legit third parties, and we got legit third parties for Cube. We really did. We didn't get the breadth that the other consoles got, but we got enough. We got the Star Wars stuff, and yeah. Well, we got stuff. We got something. You're right. It was slimmer pickings, but it was not the same. But then Wii U launched with a mountain of third-party stuff, and Nobody bought it. Nobody bought the third-party stuff on the Wii because it was crap, but that was beside the point. So, right, it seemed like from the devs' perspective, they're like, Nintendo, nobody buys our stuff on Nintendo consoles for 2 generations running plus the handheld.
But GameCube also was 15 years ago or more. And I mean, like from where video games were then to where they are now, like GameCube was competing with PS2, and that PS2 is kind of what I credit with making gaming a mainstream thing.
Yeah, and it was because it was a DVD
player.
That just that's still to me, Nintendo's just absolute stubborn refusal to get on that bandwagon was their dumbest move.
I'm sort of surprised they didn't have a DVD player add-on like that Game Boy player, where you just set it on the footprint of the bottom and it has a little disc drive for DVDs.
Oh, you mean for like the N64 or the Cube?
Well, how the GameCube had that Game Boy Advance adapter that went onto the footprint on the bottom.
Yeah, I had that.
Well, it was just
they should have just. I've got it too.
To me, it was just like everyone who said it was just like Nintendo, just flipping the bird to everybody who said, "Really, guys, you really ought to put a DVD player in it now that you're going with discs." Because they had shirked the whole thing the previous generation because they went with the cartridges. So it's like next generation, we're finally going disc, but no, you still can't even fit a frigging DVD in it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, it's always been to fight counterfeiting, and that's how it continues to this day.
Yeah, but it's just
anyway.
Let me play Blu-rays on the friggin' Wii U, for God's sakes.
What else we got, Jason?
So this kind of reminds me of another topic we have, and it's kind of a sore subject for a lot of people who are streaming nowadays, and that is Nintendo has recently updated their creators program. And basically their email went out to people who were members and said there's new standards in place, and channels that do not comply with this will immediately be demonetized and taken out of the program. From what I could see, the basic requirements was 4,000 hours of watch time in the past 12 months, and you had to have 1,000 subscribers. So a lot of the smaller ones are going to be hit more.
Yeah, which people already didn't like the creators program because every other company just about out there wants you to stream their stuff. They see it as free advertising. Nintendo says, you pay us, we'll allow you to show our content, and it has to be content that's from a list of approved games. Like, you can't just show any Nintendo. Like, even Smash Brothers still isn't on their approved list, so you can't show gameplay. But if it's a game they want you to play, they'll split some of the profits with you, whereas everyone else just lets you keep it all. But YouTube recently updated their policy to the same thing, where they're demonetizing any account that doesn't have so many views and so many hours of viewing and so many subscribers. So Nintendo's just basically saying, you're out of our program, and we're going to take 100% of the ad revenue on anything. But I mean, YouTube, they're kind of just doubling down on what YouTube's already doing. So it doesn't really make any difference. I don't really even know why they decided to make a statement at all. They're just basically saying, hey, if your channel's not making any money, then you're not part of the content creators program. We're not going to split any money with you because you're not making any money. So I don't know. It just seemed like it was weird that they even had to make a statement on it. Maybe some people might have thought like, hey, maybe I'll still make some sweet Nintendo money, even though I'm not meeting the YouTube guideline, because Nintendo's going to give me a cut of some revenue or something. But I would guess participation's been pretty low in the content creators program anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think a lot of people have moved to Twitch or elsewhere to do their type of streaming things.
Yeah, and that's and Twitch is even starting some YouTube style stuff where you can do pre-recorded videos and put them on there. So this is an unfortunate time for YouTube.
Yeah,
because we're gonna get some other options. But yeah, Nintendo is, I don't know why why they are the way that they are. But now that they're on top, it's over. But this was during the Wii U era. That's the more mind-boggling thing, is that, you know, it's at the time when they were doing the worst. Is the time that they were like, you better not be showing our stuff on YouTube unless you're going to share some of that money with us. They needed all the help they could have gotten back then.
We've mentioned Mario Kart several times on the podcast, but, you know, I think all of us have uploaded at least one or two Mario Kart races, and through the official game and, you know, through official channels, and had it hit with a copyright strike. So I don't know. Nintendo doesn't make a lot of sense. All right.
That's just how they are.
So if you've been following us on Twitter, I always tease a little bit every week about, you know, what one of our topics is going to be. And this recently came up in our general discussions. And I want to screen share it here. If you're on YouTube, you can check it out. And this device, I think it was Mo who posted this. This is a Nintendo Switch accessory. You can see the official logo on there. I don't know anyone who guessed it to be what it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, at first you look at it, and is it an ultrasound machine? Is it a tooth whitener?
The next picture that they show of it, it doesn't really help it. Because it just adds, okay, what's this guy doing?
Oh, it's a Darth Vader voice changer.
It's a home breathalyzer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a modernized barf bag. So, like, if you were playing ARMS and you got motion sick, you could just
Or if you were just playing ARMS and weren't motion sick, you could throw up in it.
Yeah.
That's true. If our game content makes you sick, here's something to throw up into. So,
by the way, ARMS is $20 off if you're a member of the Best Buy Gamers Club this week. But yeah, it's
you could do what this guy's doing and puke into a bag once you buy it.
It's definitely a stylish accessory. It makes you look cool.
This guy looks really cool.
The other thing I thought about it is, in most cases where you're doing karaoke, there's usually beer and greasy snacks involved. Can you imagine how this thing would smell if you're handing it off to your friend after using it?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, this is for the sad sack who's playing by himself at night in his apartment.
Yeah, well, I guess we should reveal what this officially is.
Yeah.
This is the Hori Switch microphone and cover. As you can see, the guy's holding a regular microphone, just it's Hori branded and works with the Nintendo Switch. And this is the cover, so you can sing.
We should also say, in Japan, there is a Nintendo Joy Sound karaoke singing game.
That's right.
Yeah.
That this is for, so this probably won't be coming stateside anytime soon.
Yeah, if you've got your hopes up, don't get it.
Probably get it on PlayAsia, though.
That's right. But I like that this says it is to prevent sound leakage, because it definitely looks like you're putting something in there that might leak.
Yes. It's so you can sing as loud as you want in your parents' basement, and your mom won't have to wake up.
In your 200 by 200 foot.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually probably large. In your 20 by 20 foot apartment.
Your little cubes that you rented in the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
The little Japanese hotel cubes.
Oh, you can lay in those little tubes in the wall and still use this.
And because the Switch is portable.
Yeah.
That's right, for your late night karaoke sessions.
But yeah, I mean,
Hori has you
in the bathroom.
In the bathroom.
There's been times I wish I could sing as loud as I wanted without anyone hearing. So.
Ooh, you could sing in the shower with this thing without ruining the microphone.
Maybe.
You
can make an airtight seal with your mouth.
Yeah, you'd have to hold it there the whole time.
Although there's that cord there too, so.
Yeah.
He's got to run that out the shower. It should work.
But you could probably sing in the car without disturbing anyone else.
Until a cop rolls by and sees you.
Taking a hit of your big old Nintendo Switch phone.
taking a hit of your giant bong in your car.
Yeah.
Who said it
Which
looked
is
like a
probably
beer
why
bong?
you'll be buying one of these.
That was you, Max, that said it looked like a beer bong, right?
Yeah.
That's where
Beer
Max
bong.
went with it.
Beer bong game.
But yeah, it really could just be a regular old bong.
Yeah,
Or
we
some
haven't
kind
really
of
had
modern make.
our fill of wacky Nintendo Switch accessories just yet. Although, with that cord, the cord for the base that we talked about earlier, and let's
of
not
course, let
forget
us
my
not-
favorite. I'll go for
yeah?
it. The same one?
I was going to say Labo, so probably not.
Oh no! I was thinking that ARMS was going to be such a smash hit that they had to release the AA battery extenders. Which how are those things not $10 now?
Well, that's the thing. I would totally pick them up as just an oddity.
An oddity,
if they were cheap. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Nintendo will recall them like everything else. They can't have any stock of anything out there anymore.
They were on sale on
the
Best Buy for $30 this week, and they said pass.
Just $30 though.
But those will be the oddity of the Switch because they came out early, and I guarantee you, almost nobody bought them.
I should mention the price range on this. So the microphone is $25 basically, converted from yen, and the cover itself is $13. So you could have this pleasure in your home for only $13, or combinable with like $38. So less than $40.
Do you think it's going to make your singing sound like you're singing into a cup?
That's what I was wondering. Give you a nice echo.
Yeah, I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
This would almost be worth importing to have someone test it out.
If you guys want to buy it for me, I'll
one of us can do the entire run of the podcast with.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, if anyone would like to make a donation to the podcast effort, you heard it right there. Mo just volunteered to perform for us. Yeah. That would be
send it to our P.O. box.
That's right. We'll look you up.
We don't have.
We can get one.
Yeah. We'll get one. If you want to send us one, we'll get a P.O. box. How much can that possibly cost?
All right.
It's more than the cost of the microphone. I'm not doing it.
All right. So we've got a few topics here to wind down on, and they all deal with Nintendo mobile games. So the first one, I know there's a couple of people here that still play Pokemon Shuffle, and I think we've maybe seen some signs here that the end of Pokemon Shuffle is perhaps in sight. The latest update,
I hope so,
no longer has the watch for more at the end of it, and it says pretty much all of the main and expert stages are complete now. I haven't played in a long time, so I want to base this on some other.
Barry is the shuffle master. See, I still play every day.
Up with it. So
yeah, I play every day, but I still don't. I don't keep up. Like I don't catch them all. I don't go. I'm still not progressing like super fast through the game. I just kind of play the special stages and the weekly stuff. But Barry's been catching them all.
Yeah, I've been trying to keep up with things as they were released. And for the most part, every couple of months they'll add another 30 or so main stages, and usually once you get all those S ranked, it unlocks the next expert stage. But they did that last week. They added up to stage 700, and usually when you clear the last one, they say, congratulations, you've done that. Keep your eyes open for more stages to come in the future. This time it didn't do that. This time it unlocked a different mode called UX mode, which basically starts right back at stage 1 and continues the line from there, and you get to play through them all over again, except this time they've got triple health.
Wow.
Which is super fun, because we love a challenge.
Well, for the early stages, they were so, they were
they were super easy.
You didn't have a mega, you didn't have, so if you can fly through the first ones. I've heard of the first 150 aren't too bad. Then the next 150, they start to get a little bit more interesting. And I'd imagine by the time you're getting up to the end, it's going to be a royal pain.
Yeah, by the end, you're going to be going in fully using every single disruption delays and the complexities and the mega starts, and you still might not win.
Oh, they added up till now. All the main stages didn't have the double your damage attack power up. They call it.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
One, but now these new UX ones, that is an option as well. So, but
just a way to hopefully get people to spend more money so that they can pay for these things.
Yeah, with that, it looks like they've wrapped up the mains for sure. They've never added an expert stage without adding mains, so that probably too. But like I said, I've been catching each one basically as they've released throughout. And about a month ago or a few weeks ago, they had their third anniversary. They've been updating this thing for 3 years already, so I really can't complain. It's had a great run.
Yeah, they supported it really
well.
Before
that, they added ranks based on how many different types. Like if you caught 5 different unknowns or 20 different Pikachus, that still just counts as one. So it doesn't count duplicates. But for every different type of Pokemon you've got, it keeps track, and you can rank up. And the highest rank available is 30. And even with catching everything, I'm still 5 short. So I expect they'll still be adding a few more new stages as specials over the next little while. But
yeah,
it looks like the bulk of the game is slowing down.
Yeah, which I enjoy it. And like I said, it's been supported way better than I ever thought it ever would be. They've really kept it going.
For a neat little match 3 puzzler, they added a surprising number of complexity. They added extra modes. Like there's a survival mode where it's just go through and see how many stages you can beat before you run out of moves. There's, like I said, the main and the expert stages. They also put in mission cards where you had to go and do specific things on specific stages. When I first started playing, I didn't even recognize that Pokemon had skills. And then they added seal boosters. They've added items so that you can keep upgrading your Pokemon beyond the base 10 levels that they all start with. It really became a lot more than it was at launch. When it launched, it only had 150 main stages and 20 experts.
I would buy a sequel to Pokemon Shuffle if they had one where there was no limitation on like how many 5 times every 2 hours that you could play or whatever with the heart system, and just made it as you buy the game and you can play through it just as a fun thing where I would probably pay for it, depending on what the price was.
I've heard that there was something similar to that at one point. Like it was based off of using a lot of the assets from a previous
game. There's the Pokemon Battle Trozei, I think.
Mm-hmm. That might have been
it. It's in the 3DS eShop, which is, it's similar but different.
There's Pokemon Trozei and then Pokemon Battle Trozei. I played both of those and really enjoyed them. Great puzzle games. And they were just, you pay the price and then you have the game.
Yeah. I think I'd enjoy that more.
It's the same thing they did with...
If you were willing to put in the time, you could play Pokemon Shuffle for free and do just about everything for, you might have to pick and choose, but anything was pretty much attainable if you kept at it.
If you're willing to grind,
For the first year and a half, I didn't put any money into it. After that, I've been less time to grind, and I still appreciated the game, so I've picked up a couple of their little bundles on the sales, but even then I didn't really have to. It's just something that made things bigger.
I think I've even put a few bucks into Pokemon Shuffle over the years to buy either jewels or whatever, just when they had some sort of deal, which I don't mind. It's a free to play, so I don't mind.
I always waited till they had the deal where you'd get 6 free if you bought 6 or more, so you got basically half off.
Well, when I look in my play activity, which I can't do on Switch, but I'd love to have that on Switch. Pokemon Shuffle is my number 2 most hours game behind Animal Crossing New Leaf, which surprised me.
It's the number 1 for me.
Yeah. So what happens when you check in every day.
So
play a few stages. Yeah.
Let me pose this question then. If they did say, the next batch of updates come out and they say, no more updates after this, but it'll still be available for play. Is there enough there in the game to sustain it for a while, or is this going to be, if the updates stop, is the play going to stop?
Well, there'll always be.
Barry, it'll stop.
There's people. I think they're putting into place some sort of cycle of special stages, so there'll be something there. For new players coming to it, there is lots there that it would keep them busy for a long time. For someone who's like I said, it took me a few days, less than a week, and I had gotten up to those 700 done. But now with these other extra that they've added on, where you have to go through them all again, I've been picking away at it, but I'm still not through the ones that are, sort of the easy first stages yet. I'm maybe up to about 85 now. Like,
I can't believe you're even doing it.
Well, I figure I might as well go for the gravy ones. Yeah. They do have prizes. You get either a level up or a raise max level for each of the megas that you beat, where there were prizes before. They're just different prizes now. Okay. So, as long as it's not too difficult, I'll see how far I can get. I hear that they've got special prizes at, I think the first one's at 300 levels. Your little status card that shows all your statistics turns to rainbow colors, and then I think there's a black one for somewhere, or a platinum one.
But yeah, for somebody who once you 100% the game, there's really no reason to go back.
Probably not. No, unless you're just trying to train up your team, because there's endless training you could do. But there's really not much point if
I don't ever replay old stages just for fun nostalgia. Like it's not like, ooh, that Rayquaza stage was amazing. You battle to get through it. But
that's mainly it. Or unless you're grinding, which there are certain stages which you can grind to get the coins or for experience to level up your team or whatever. But
I feel like this is the kind of news story that we'll be the only ones covering, because everyone else doesn't care about Pokemon Shuffle anymore. And probably hasn't noticed.
Let me ask you guys there, or were you both I know Mo wasn't. Were you a Pokemon fan before you started playing Shuffle, Barry?
I'd say yes, but not a huge one. I played Pokemon Blue back on Game Boy, and then I was out of the Pokemon series and Nintendo games in general for a number of years, and picked it up again with Black 2 of all things. And then went back and got some of the other DS titles and replayed those. But yeah, I always like to have Pokemon that are as good as I can reasonably get them, but I never go in for tournaments actually, so or anything like that. So I take advice from whatever sites, and I try and do learn the type advantages and come up with some neat strategies. But I'm not as into it as a lot of people I know can get.
I wouldn't know who Rayquaza was had I not played Pokemon Shuffle. Any Pokemon names that I know outside of Pikachu and maybe Charizard, I would not know if not for Pokemon Shuffle.
Well,
but it also didn't ignite anything in me that made me want to go out and play any other Pokemon games. I just like puzzle games.
That's going to be my next question.
A good intro for the typing, generally, but unlike all the main Pokemon games where a lot of the Pokemon at least have more than one type, and you have to sort of combine, how things are going to affect them because of that. Everything in Shuffle's just one type, so it simplifies it greatly.
Maybe if they did a Pokemon Red and Blue Shuffle, where you walked around and then when you found a Pokemon, you had to do a puzzle. maybe I'd be more into it. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Speaking of how you play, do you play it on mobile or do you play it on 3DS only?
I tried the mobile, but the mobile has actually got some differences to it, which make it a little more awkward. I've been happy to stay with the 3DS, basically. One of my sons had it on his iPad for a bit, and that's where I saw a mobile version.
I tried it on mobile, and it was more of just having to start from scratch that I didn't like.
Because there's no connection there.
Yeah, it's like I've taken it this far already. It's like now when you play it on mobile, it's like, well, I don't have any of, a lot of the special stages. You kind of have to have some reasonably powered up Pokemon to be able to beat them. So it's like starting all over without all your special event rare ones that you just can only catch for limited times. I mean, they all kind of come back, but I didn't
Also,
want to
on
start over.
all of the special items you have to buy cost a little bit more,
Right.
and combined with that, it's a little bit more awkward grinding, from what I understand. It's not as consistent. So, but they've had great success with it. I think there's usually, for most of the competitions and stuff, been more mobile players than 3DS players who participate.
Yeah.
With those numbers.
It's no Fire Emblem, though.
I actually played Pokemon Shuffle for quite a while after it was released. I don't know how far I got. It's been a while, but it's a good game. But it's just that constant every 2 hours. You'd play. Like I'd take it with me. Like on a trip or something to play. Or it was just too much of a. I felt like I was needing to play more often than I wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like a slave to it at times where it's like, oh, it's been 2 hours. or 2.5 hours. I better go pop back in and use up my 5 hearts so that so I can grind Meowth for some coins and then wait another 2.5 hours so I can do it all over again.
Yeah, that's right.
I will always say Meowth. Just like Pokken.
That's the other thing that they made nice for starting off with those harder version of the stages was they upped the prizes on them. So it's, like I said, the first section are fairly easy to beat, and you're getting 300 coins for each one that you beat for the first time. So you're still making fairly good money as you're going through, assuming you've got, at least reasonably developed teams.
Yeah.
All right. Good stuff. So we'll keep things rolling here. We got a couple more. Now these are strictly mobile titles, only on your phone. And of course, Fire Emblem Heroes first year anniversary is just coming up, or has already happened, I guess. So we got some more numbers in though, which I thought was pretty interesting. We've got 295 million is the estimate for worldwide spending. That is a ton of money.
It is.
Yeah, and we've got it listed as Nintendo's most successful mobile game, and I'd say definitely has reached that. And we've got some good comparisons here between their most recent game, which is Pocket Camp. Pocket Camp had 20 million in spending in the first 2 months. Fire Emblem Heroes had 86 million in 2 months.
Wow.
That's a ton of money.
Yeah, and we've mentioned before that Fire Emblem is one that you guys actually enjoy playing. It's a good game. It might be the only Nintendo mobile game that's really a good game.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is that's what it really seems like. Is if this is the product of their partnership with DNA or whatever, like
DNA.
Like because the Pokemon ones aren't. I think those are all Game Freak in their own thing.
Yeah.
Right. So far they're like 1 for 4, 5. How many have come out? Mario Run, Miitomo, Fire Emblem, and Animal Crossing. Is that it? Or am I missing something?
Sounds right.
So they're
Mario Kart to come.
They're pretty much 1 for 4 at this point. It's not a very good ratio. Mario Run's kind of sucked. Miitomo was okay, but it never went anywhere.
But one hit will pay for the rest of the failures.
Hopefully. And again, I'm surprised Animal Crossing made as much money as it did. That 20 million really surprises me. That means it was sort of a success. I can't believe who was motivated to spend money on that. That had to be one person.
I don't know how many downloads we had said that Animal Crossing had. But when there's that introductory thing where you can buy stuff and you don't know how sick you're going to be of the game yet. You might throw a few bucks in.
Well, it's Animal Crossing. And we all hear, I mean, I think everybody that I know, basically, that in the gaming community loves Animal Crossing. And who would ever guess that Animal Crossing would be the kind of stinker in the family?
Well, again, just because they made it was a poor mobile version of it.
Yeah, that's true.
Same thing with making, like, to me, runners aren't real games. The moment I heard Super Mario Run was a runner, like, I was over it. I was no way.
Hey, let this sink in. Super Mario Run has made more money than the Animal Crossing game.
That's disturbing.
But
we know that nobody bought that.
Yeah, but some people would buy it just because it's, it's Mario. I get that. That's a big enough name, but it's just, I don't know. I look at all those games as kind of a joke. Again, Fire Emblem is cool. I never really tried it, so I can't speak to it.
But then you look at the Pokemon, for those on not on YouTube. If you jump on the YouTube, Jason's got a chart showing right now that shows some of the bigger games like Pokemon Go, for example. If you look at that and you cut just a third of that off, that would be Nintendo's cut. That would also probably pay for all of their mobile games.
Well, revenue. We don't know costs and how much money Nintendo would actually see out of that.
I would imagine there'd be a lot more expense in Pokemon Go because they're kind of pioneering a new field in a way with the augmented reality experience. Plus, you've got all these. It's more interactive. It's not just something you have on your phone, and you've got a lot of other things going on.
A lot tied into it. Google Maps and what have you, or the GPS.
Pokestops, all that stuff.
Of course, they do have plenty of sponsored Pokestops, Starbucks, Boost Mobile, Sprint. So they're getting some money from sponsors as well. But before we move on, I want to share what the chart actually reads for those of you not on YouTube following us. It is got Mario Run at 56 million, Fire Emblem Heroes 295 million, and then Clash Royale, which is a huge game. I think Z plays that one, 967 million, and Pokemon Go at 1.1 billion. And that is the first year worldwide revenue for the games. That's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, those are crazy numbers. I will say Clash Royale is kind of still my primary game. It's the game I open most often. It's the game I most consistently play still. More so than anything on my Switch. That said, I overall probably play my Switch more than I play Clash Royale. But I play an hour of pinball, 30 minutes of Pac-Man. I jump around a lot on my Switch.
Well, if you're lucky, maybe Clash Royale will come to the Switch.
When they first were dropping rumors of a Linux or a Android tablet, actually, remember there were rumors early on that it was going to be Android based. I thought that might be a possibility. I was excited by that, but never mind. And I'm perfectly content with it being. In fact, the fewer phone games, the better at this point.
It is funny to me that there's all these. Should I say hack companies that are putting their dopey mobile games onto the Switch, yet Nintendo doesn't put their own mobile games onto the Switch?
Nintendo only applies their seal quality standards to their own content on their own console, apparently, anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think also, like I said, they see it as a way to engage people who don't already have a Switch. So why would there be a need to put this on the Switch?
This is just about spreading their IP, is what it's about.
Yep. Which just always sounds vulgar whenever you say it. Not just you specifically, but...
Oh, I think it's him specifically.
Maybe it's you specifically.
But yeah.
Thanks, guys.
But yeah, I mean, Mario Run is as valid as... Well, God, man, I hope they don't ever put one of those Mario Minis things. But that would be a perfect mobile title.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a far smarter thing to put on mobile to use the Mario IP, I would think.
But yeah, Mario Run is
Run.
legitimate as a minis game.
I disagree.
They needed
Huh?
They needed it to be a straight up Mario game though. For their first big foray into mobile games, they needed it to be pure Mario jumping, Goombas, Koopa Troopas.
Well, but they were trying to work around the idea that you had to do it on a phone. Yeah. And you just can't. People have tried various emulated control schemes, and some of them aren't bad, but at the end of the day, you need physical buttons for Mario. You really do. You need a physical, D-pad or stick or something. A touchscreen just doesn't cut it. So I can get why they wanted to do something slightly different, but to me, an Endless Runner wasn't it, and an Endless Runner isn't. To me, it's just not a legitimate enough game if all you do is tap. I don't care if it's timing. Yeah. It's still just tapping. It's not a whole game.
My daughter loves it.
Your daughter's 4.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I do have a couple more bits of information on comparisons between game revenue for Pocket Camp and Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem is ranked number 34 worldwide on iOS and Android, taking both markets.
Not terrible.
As far as game revenue, and Pocket Camp is 190, which is higher than I expected, but it's still there.
Well, but
when there's a million out there, a million games.
That's true.
But this also tells you, like, Nintendo's right. Nintendo likes the blue ocean. They like having their own. They like coming up with their own market, so that they don't have to compete with anybody. This is what happens when Nintendo has to compete in a modern smartphone marketplace, right? Pokemon, sure. Pokemon's the aberration, though. Mario does 56 million to Pokemon's billion to Clash Royale's just shy of $1 billion. And their best title is a third of those. Again, Pokemon, they are intrinsically, tied to Pokemon, but it's really not theirs. But to me, it's a disappointing showing across the board for them. Even Fire Emblem did okay. Didn't do terrible, but right, it's a Nintendo game. It shouldn't have just done pretty good. Nintendo should have. And again, Pokemon's there, so we can point to Pokemon. But Pokemon was just a weird fluke of cultural something or other, like a global phenomenon.
I would like to compare the Fire Emblem Heroes revenue with like the Fire Emblem Awakening or whatever it was on 3DS. What was it? Was that the first one?
I'd be curious to know what the overall dollars were, but also how much like the cost to profit ratio and all that.
But as far as this one's probably competing with a actual mainline Fire Emblem game, which none of the other ones can say that they could do.
That's true. Animal Crossing, somewhat the tail end of it.
They're not. I don't think any of the mobile games can in any way really compete with a mainline series game from.
No.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody that's saying, "Oh, let's get the phone game." Well, there might be a few people out there that don't know the difference, that don't understand.
I don't know. How many people do you think have picked up Fire Emblem Heroes, for example, that know nothing of the series?
Not many.
Not many, but there's a weird small percentage of everything. So I'm sure there's some weird small percentage of people that are, it's a Nintendo game. Yeah, I've never heard of it. I'll check it out.
Yeah, or they might not even be considering that it's a Nintendo game. They look at Clash Royale, like that's
anime.
Yeah,
well, Clash Royale
anime-looking game, and
Clash Royale had Clash of Clans to ride on the back of. Supercell's like a big phone game player now because of that one. But I don't know. It just, to me, it seems like a Mario game that should be in the top 10 of all time on iOS or Android, I would think, or at least close. You know what I mean? It should be. You would think that Nintendo would drop a title and it would be huge. Period.
The problem is you still have to have a good game for it to do well, even on mobile.
Well, look at it from this standpoint. What has held Nintendo back in the past? Inferior hardware, people not owning the hardware. This is on something everybody just about has. And they're competing on even ground for the first time. They could make a game just as good as any mobile game out there.
Well, but they're also... go ahead.
Why aren't they on the top? Like you're saying, why aren't they in that top 10?
Because the games aren't as good as the games that are in the top 10.
Yeah, they really are just kind of cheap marketing grabs. Like, they really aren't... It seems like they weren't even intended to be good games.
It's an advertisement that maybe we can get people to buy. But yeah. I still can't imagine a scenario where I would put money to play a Mario Kart game on my phone.
No.
It would have to be pretty compelling, right? Upgraded carts, upgraded tires. You can't make it where you have to buy additional tracks because that hurts multiplayer.
Yeah.
Right? Because nobody wants to buy it.
You think it'll have multiplayer? I think it'll be like Mario Run, where you'll maybe race the same tracks versus your friend's pre-recorded time.
Yeah.
But I doubt there'll be any head-to-head. God, what if they put like a gotcha crane game, or a Miitomo drop kind of game to get tires or different cart bodies?
Sure, but it's like, right, there's got to be some compelling component to it, and just kind of a half-assed version of Mario Kart. I mean,
do you think they'll come like looking at these numbers? Like, do you think they've had the conversation of what are we doing wrong? Or,
I don't think so.
We got to make this next one good.
I don't think so. I think they say, "Oh, this is just driving people to our Switch." I think they probably figure it as marketing expenditure. You know, too. Some of it they'll get back.
I don't think they want to make a good game for mobile.
Yeah, I kind of, to some degree or other, I kind of think that's sort of it.
I think they're hoping you'll play the mobile game and want to buy the real game.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but I think if they had an idea for a good game, they're going to put it on their system, not on the phone.
I don't think it goes that far. I think it's just you've got the Mario name out there. Here's your phone, and it says Mario on it now. Because I don't think anybody has played Super Mario Run and said, "Man, I've got to go pick up a Switch and get a real Mario game." If you have, I mean, please explain your logic to me. But
it's just. I think it is a nostalgia play to get. Oh, I remember Mario. People hear about it. I think they just want people to hear about it more than they want people to play it. Because if they wanted people to play it, they would have made it better.
Yeah,
they would have made it good. Yeah, they don't like. I really.
Of course, if they did really fall in love with Super Mario Run, they couldn't really go to the Switch and find a comparable Mario experience, unless they bought Versus Mario, I guess.
But it was but even then, that's true. But it's like I don't. If people pick it up that are young, like kids, and they play on their parents' phone or their own phone, Super Mario Run, because they hear everybody talking about it, they go, "Wow. This is one of those endless runner games like there's a million of. This kind of sucks." And so that kid is like, I don't know why are these old people are all excited about Nintendo. That game sucks. Right? I don't know. That's how I would be as a kid.
I have to say the thing that sticks out to me the most between Fire Emblem Heroes and Pokemon Go compared to Mario Run and Pocket Camp, although Pocket Camp had it somewhat, the biggest difference or the biggest gameplay element that's missing is the collection thing. And Pokemon Go is, for a long time, and they're starting to improve it some, it's all about collecting the Pokemon. Right?
Yeah.
Fire Emblem Heroes, it's about getting the heroes you want, getting the new heroes that come out, different versions. I think that's definitely what pushes the spending.
And it's not like collectathons aren't in Nintendo's wheelhouse.
Definitely. Yeah.
Definitely. Animal Crossing, it was just not in any way remotely compelling to collect the stuff.
Although Miitomo is kind of a clothing collectathon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we
That's
did.
How they tried to.
Yeah. Which
Only
we did
when it
to a
was free,
degree,
though.
but it was just it was very limited, and it was there wasn't there after a while you just kind of got bored of changing your clothes, in the
I
game.
didn't want to
don't
change
know.
them because then it kept wanting to take a picture.
Yeah, the social
Sure.
Yeah, too.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like their mobile thing is half-assed, and I just don't think it's providing the kind of marketing they want.
I wonder if the games would do better if you didn't have to be online to play them.
Yeah,
Because all of them have to be online.
Well, yeah, that's one thing that I don't understand why they did.
I don't understand Mario Run.
It's probably an anti-piracy thing somehow.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Some sort of licensing something.
Well,
digital rights.
I think it kind of goes back to they're not, except for maybe Pokemon Go, they're not really meant to be games. They're just advertisements, kind of in a way. You know what I mean?
I also kind of have a feeling that they may be shooting over the heads of their partner. Like this company they partner with, they may be asking for stuff that these guys just aren't capable of. But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's it. Oh, I did have one last number I did not share, which is a little bit of a comparison between how things are in the U.S. and how things are in Japan with spending. The revenue and for Fire Emblem, this is for the first year again, 30% of revenue from the U.S., 60% from Japan. Pocket Camp, 82% was from Japan. So maybe the reason we don't like it, maybe we're just not getting it like the Japanese fan base is. I don't know.
My
I think
opinion is just. Go ahead.
I was just saying, just being cute is enough. It seems like for the Japanese audience.
I also think being Nintendo is enough in some cases. I think I think a lot of people, for example, with ARMS or with Pocket Camp, a lot more people just because it's the new thing Nintendo put out. It's almost a point of national pride, because right, it's Nintendo, and I think a lot of people are just willing to give it much more of a chance than we are over here. Like again, ARMS did far better over there. I think it's just because it's Japan and it's Nintendo, and so they're just more willing to buy it and give it a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we're all pretty hardcore Nintendo fans. We're definitely all hardcore Animal Crossing fans.
Yeah.
But, and Jason's one of the biggest Animal Crossing fans that I know as far as dedication for New Leaf and stuff like that. And he was the first one to delete that app from the phone.
I think so.
I could also probably go as far as to say I was also the one that was probably burnt out the most from New Leaf.
Because you play, yeah.
Yeah, that's true too.
And then I pick up something which is just immediately burns you. It's like, no
But
more.
as far as Nintendo goes, I mean, we're all pretty big fans. One of us owns ARMS. It's like,
how many of us owns another gaming console besides Nintendo?
I do.
This generation?
Yeah. Well, just in general, I guess.
Well, okay, yeah. Like I have an old PS3, an old Xbox 360 that I traded a guy for weed. I just like to point that out. I had an original PlayStation that I got from a girlfriend as a gift that I didn't really want. And I have an Intellivision. I picked up some other odds and ends like that over the years as collector's pieces, but no.
But buying it new from generation to generation.
No, like I picked up the PS3 at the end of its life because I just wanted a new Blu-ray player, and it was a sweet deal. And again, every non-Nintendo console I have either picked up because it was old. It was, you know what I mean? I picked it up at the time. It was already very old and it was like a collector's piece, or it was something that somebody gave to me, and I got for some other reason other than as a gaming console, or as that I didn't necessarily want as a gaming console. How about you,
Yeah,
Mo? You're Nintendo only 100%, right?
It's in or nothing. Yeah.
Get in or get out.
Yeah. It's I've only ever owned Nintendo consoles. And when I wasn't buying, like I've said before that I skipped the Wii and I skipped the DS. Surprisingly, the two most popular consoles they ever made are the ones I didn't play. But when I skipped them, it's because I went back to the NES and the Super NES and got kind of more hardcore into those again. But yeah, it's always been Nintendo from the beginning.
My only aberration was the Game Gear. Other than that, I didn't own a Game Boy, but I owned a Game Gear.
Okay. Well, I guess if we go back, yeah, I did have a Game Gear as well that I bought over a Game Boy.
I picked up a Game Gear very late in the game, but I drooled over kids' Game Gears.
And I did have a Genesis and a 32X, which the 32X I got pretty close to launch. And it was because of Doom.
But since then, I'm pretty much like, well, I'm strictly Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm mostly that way myself.
Yeah, I never bought a Sega console until, again, those were random ones I picked up as when they were very old. And ever really, since the NES came along, that's it. Prior to that, I had my Intellivision, loved that thing. But nah, the NES changed it. The NES was, again, that was when there was stuff that was in the arcades that was the exact same game you could have at home. That was the first time that had ever been possible. It was a game. It was what killed arcades. We never went to the arcades anymore once we had it. We were done. Like, right, you'd maybe play a game when you were at a pizza joint from that point on, but you never went to an arcade. Like, I would drop by the arcade if my mom was at the mall. Okay, I'll go to the arcade, and I'd go check out, and it would be a ghost town.
Right? Yeah, but I mean, Mortal Kombat 2, Street Fighter 2,
Street Fighter, but right, yeah, I remember those more from like donut shops and stuff like, or 7-Elevens and
I played those in the arcade, and the Turtles game, the Simpsons 4-player game, the X-Men 4-player game.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. The arcades were still around, but again, they were prior to the NES. The arcades was where you went on the weekend. Like, that's where you asked your mom to go, and how much money can you give me, and that's where you wanted to go. And
I wasn't of that independent age.
Yeah,
I wasn't of the age to drop me off at the mall so I could go to the arcade. They were pretty much dead by then. To me, it was just, mom's going to the mall. I'm going to get $10 in quarters while she goes and shops.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it became at that point when the arcades still existed. They were still around for quite a while, but they just weren't the same. It was no longer a destination. It was just a side thing at that point.
And we didn't have cell phones, and yet somehow we still found each other.
Yet somehow our parents would let 10-year-olds loose in the mall. Yeah. Nuts.
For me, the arcades was mostly a birthday trip, and it was for many, many years. It's about the only time I went. Otherwise, arcade games was, Walmart or grocery store.
Yeah.
Wherever you happen to be.
A couple of them.
Yeah.
Although now they just opened that new arcade at our mall, and it's you put your tokens onto a credit card, and you swipe, so you never really know how much you're paying for each game. I hate that.
And then all of a sudden you're just out. Yeah.
You're just out of credits. Yeah.
No, that's true. I still went to arcades after the NES here and there, and there'd be a good game. And again, Street Fighter or whatever, but it just, still wasn't the same. But stuff with steering wheels, right? Off-Road was one that came around after the NES that everyone played because it had 3 steering wheels. Yeah. All the good big multiplayer setups. You'd still bust out the 4-player gauntlet or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that was really for me. Arcades were about the stuff you could sit down in, your Star Wars, your Afterburner.
That's more what they became about when the NES came out.
or
They
the
had to have-
4-player big games, or ones with a gun attached.
And they were neat. Yeah, that's true. They were still at like the what's it called? The miniature golf places and whatever. But right, yeah, they started to change. They started to become half rides, a lot of them, and things that would be something you couldn't get at home.
Although there has been a resurgence with the barcade type stuff popping up all over the country now. So I don't know. But yeah.
Retro things always have a limited shelf life.
Yeah, nostalgia does in general. Anyway, let's get back on track, troops.
So this has nothing to do with mobile games, but there's a little bit of an aside. All right.
You could buy an arcade and put it in your car and drive it somewhere.
When we get self-driving cars, I'd be into that.
No, totally. But hey, but that goes back to my arcade stick I bought earlier, man. That's the experience we're talking about.
That's right. Yeah. Well, it's all connected.
Tying it in.
That's right. Our last topic is, of course, the title topic of the night, and it is Animal Crossing and Animal Crossing New Leaf and a Pocket Camp crossover. So recently, it came to light about a data mine which reveals planned interaction. It was revealed a smartphone item that would have been in the New Leaf game, which would have allowed you to interact with Pocket Camp. And it had something to do with the cat machine and meow tickets, but because of the delays, it basically was scrapped. Because originally, the fall 2016 release date for Pocket Camp was along the same timeline as the New Leaf update. So
the Welcome Amiibo?
Yeah, the Welcome Amiibo, the major update. So
they're going to try to tie in the two. Yeah, see, I think this all fell apart with their partner. I think they asked for the moon, and these guys gave them, green cheese.
So I was kind of expecting for the 3DS version to have some kind of connectivity. I thought that's what the whole Harv's campground was about. I thought there would be, you'd go to the Harvey's campground and maybe could connect somehow through the mobile. There's still like that, we've talked about that internet thing, which I guess is supposed to be for special events. But yeah, I fully expected there to be some kind of connectivity between the two. But it seems like we had also talked about a long time ago, they almost had completely different game planned and then kind of scrapped it and made it more like what it is now.
That's true.
So, it's been through different things, but yeah, I fully expected there to be some sort of connectivity that just wasn't there.
I did too. Well, I'm curious what kind of connectivity that it would have had, what they were planning on.
We know it would have been lamer than the Amiibo. Wow. That might actually be the best Amiibo use.
You can kind of see maybe an idea of what they had, where we have these daily goals that give us My Nintendo points. That could have been given as meow tickets. That could have been a pretty direct connection. Been a terrible one, but
yeah, those didn't motivate me enough to stick with the update for too long.
You mean in New Leaf or in Pocket Camp?
In New Leaf. Yeah, in New Leaf. Well, or in Pocket Camp, really.
I was in Pocket Camp, they
don't motivate me.
Yeah, they demotivated me.
Yeah, they just took. It was just so many tickets, and you get so many all the time, and you never use them, and you don't want to spend them.
It was. I think the coolest thing to take away from this is that it was a 3DS smartphone connection, and I would have said it had been the first, but just recently I seen that a service was being disconnected, which allowed you to tether your smartphone to your 3DS for internet connection. So, but as far as I know, that's the only game I know of that would work on a 3DS to your smartphone, which would have been genius.
Yeah, they just slightly missed that window, but they're all making it up now with a Nintendo Switch app.
Yeah.
That's been paying off in Splatoon clothing dividends. Do you think there will be another game associated with that app within a year of it launching?
I could see them using it for Animal Crossing, putting up furniture and clothes up on it.
If we can get that before summer.
Probably not.
Maybe at E3 they'll say, and one more thing, Animal Crossing launches now. Get it now.
I mean, I'm trying to think about what big titles could connect to the mobile phone and still get some benefit from it. I mean, Pokemon would kind of make sense in some ways, but because they've always had like the I don't remember what it's called, the Dream Area that you had online as a browser game. So I mean that could work, but that's not necessarily a straight up Nintendo title as we were talking about before.
They could have done something like that with Animal Crossing Mobile, where you could visit people's 3DS dream towns and just walk around in them. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see a lot of opportunity for connectivity between the phone and the video games. Other than, like you said, like the Splatoon thing's okay, but I still maybe check it once every couple days. But if Animal Crossing comes out and there's mobile exclusive furniture, it's going to be a big pain in the ass, but I'm going to probably do it.
Well, and you remember in Animal Crossing, when you start out, you've got the very small Nook shop. If they stick to that formula, you've got, 3 items a day. But if you can get on your phone and you're getting a new item every 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's going to break the bank, though. Your in-game bank.
That's true. We'll see. But that's probably the best use.
If they stuck to the campsite, camper stuff for Amiibos, that sort of theme could almost be the tie-in where your camper in Pocket Camp comes to the whoever's town you're visiting, whether it's your own or someone else's.
Your Nintendo Network IDs are linked now, so if you're friends with somebody in Pocket Camp, they'll show up as a friend suggestion on your Switch, so they could probably do it.
And when they did first talk about Nintendo Network IDs, I do believe it was meant to tie in, I guess at that time, between your Wii U, your 3DS, and I guess mobile. So now it could very well fit into that.
Yeah, we'll see if they do anything with it.
Alrighty. Well,
all right, gang.
I think it's time for us to wrap up for the evening. Appreciate you sticking with us. So hopefully you've enjoyed and maybe learned something. You never know what we'll talk about on the Nintendo Open Air podcast. So thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, be sure and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Let us know you're listening. We always love to hear from our listeners. So when you check out new episodes every Thursday. Of course, you can check it out on YouTube, on Stitcher, or on iTunes. And if you wanted to chat with us or ask us a question, hit us up at NOA Podcast on Twitter. And before we say goodnight, I got to say thanks again to Barry for joining us. It's good having you back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, once again, good to be here, and good night, everybody.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.